Yo, yo, yo! Hello everyone, how we doing? Yo, sis! Yo, gang, how you doing tonight? Let me just switch to the correct scene. Yo! Hello everyone, how we doing? Happy to 2026, guys. Ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we got a 1 minute something ad right as I was launching. Let's just give them the time to jump in for those who did not use the Prime or something. How are we doing in now 2026? Hope you had a great New Year's Eve. Hope you had a great Christmas. Did I see you since Christmas? Did I? Nope. We streamed on the 24th. So this is Merry Christmas and Happy New Year to you guys. Yo, I said. Thank you, brother. Wish you the best too. Health. Health is the biggest part. And then, yeah, success in whatever you wish to achieve in 2026. We'll be grinding Riftbound, so probably not gonna talk too much about 2026 objectives, whatever. Just hope we are going to stay healthy, and aside from that, we're going to grind Riftbound and see where this gets us. Kind of. How we doing? How we doing, gang? I was about to say how are you guys doing, but maybe there's girls. So how are we doing? Tonight we are talking about the last 4 remaining legends for Spirit Forged, which somehow, at first I did something that I thought was not very smart, but maybe ends up being kind of smart. I did it the way I wanted to do it, as in okay, I'm excited to try this legend, I want to see what this brings to the table, I'm going to build it. So, I built the first week was 4 legends I was pretty excited to build. Then the second week was 3 legends I was giga excited to build in Draven, Rumble, and Fiora, and Lucian I was a bit less interesting, but I was okay with it. And then this week I was left with literally the leftovers, as in 3 of these 4 decks I don't even want to build, and one of these in Sivir I could see it, but I'm not giga excited. Thank you, Woody. Thank you, brother. Much love. Thank you for the support. Glad you liked it. Maybe, hopefully, we have some more casts to come for the 2026 year. Would love that. Thank you for the photo, Void Fox. Thank you, and welcome home, brother. So this week we're going to talk about as I was saying, the legends that I did not want to build. The thing is, it somehow turns out to become a stream of we're building the bad Spirit Forge legends, and I'm going to try and tell you how I did kind of try to make it work, but exactly as I did for Lucian, don't you guys expect me to have cooked some sort of tier 1 deck out of this piece of cardboards. I was about to say pieces of shit, but let's be nice with Renata and Azir, pieces of cardboard. So Sivir maybe I could see seeing play and having success and stuff. I think, yeah. I was about to say I know a guy got decent results in the Rift Lab. I looked at his list and it actually inspired me on some of the concepts behind the list. So I guess we could say Sivir is already seeing success. For the other 3 though, I believe it's a bit tougher. But I've tried to make them work each in their own ways. Also trying to work with the mechanic that they've been built with. And not I could have made Azir or Jax. I think someone was playing Jax Aurora in the Rift Lab or Rift deck thingy. I could have made Jax an Aurora deck. I could have made Sivir an Aurora deck. Probably they're better decks in their Aurora versions, because at least when they hit Aurora they have a real win condition, which Sivir has some win conditions, but Jax probably struggles to find them in this no Aurora list, but we're going to be able to talk about this. Also, guys, I was pretty not excited to build these decks, but I think this week is by far my best decklist names of the whole Spirit Forge thingy. Jax being Genie with the lamp, Azir being Sun Jinwoo for those who know solo leveling, and Renata being Gold Digger. I think these are masterpieces. I think if you want to submit a list for an event and you have an option on how to name it, you don't have an option not to pick these names. Just my opinion though. Could be wrong. Yo Ray, how you doing? Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, all of that stuff. Wish you all the best. Ray and all of those who just landed. So which one do we want to start with, chat? We could. I feel like the only one we don't want to start with is Sivir, because then probably it's going to be the most like the best one to talk about. So we want to have that sort of a bad deck, then a good deck, then a bad deck. Probably to not like go bad deck, bad deck, bad deck straight. So which one do you guys want? Happy New Year. Yeah. Kind of the stuff. I'm not a big fan of like, I wish you the best and like health and like take care of yourself and like I hope you take like New Year's I don't know what even is the English word for that, but like you resolve that you're going to do X and X in like starting 2026. So yeah, no, we're not doing that. We're just like wishing for health, because that's the most important thing. And if we're healthy, we're able to achieve anything. That's the plan. Rumble, we did Rumble last week, Larry. And that being said, if you want to watch the edited version of the Rumble guide, let me just link you up. Here are rather the links to all of my YouTube channels. If you want to watch the edited Rumble video, you can just jump straight to the first link, the main channel, and then you have a 30-ish, 25-ish minutes video on Rumble and my text on the deck. That was recorded last week. I hope you top cut with Rumble 2026. I'm most likely not playing Rumble ever, because I'm not in the mech church. Once again, though, my predictions came true. When we got Rumble revealed, I believe it was, like, it's a bit too early, of course, to say my predictions were true, but, like, I think it was, like, about 2 months ago, I said, if mechs get good at some point, they're going to see play in Kaisa, and Rumble is going to be worse. And guess what? The functional red-blue deck in China so far has been Kaisa mechs. So I guess I'm some sort of a genie with the lamp myself, huh? Tog hasn't converted you yet. Tog has converted me to a lot of stuff, but not Rumble Church. I'm still a big ops to Rumble Church. Yup, Benny, I'm French. Maybe you can hear from my accent. Hopefully it's going to get better as long as the live stream goes on. It's just the time for my fried brain to switch from French to English. Because I've been thinking about like thinking in French for the whole day and like reading French stuff and all, and then I have to like make the switch to English, but it's going to get better. Yeah, figured it would be Kaisa Max Law. Yeah, I mean, the second we got Rumble revealed, I said probably the better deck is going to be Kaisa Max. Turns out we were probably not wrong. Gold Digger, we could go for Gold Digger first. We could go for Renata first if you guys are fine with it. Fun fact, Canadians learn French until we are 14, so you probably speak a bit of French. I guess if you're saying that means you're Canadian. Let's go for Renata. Let me just... Renata is... I believe there's only like one team there. Renata Gold Digger builds. Let me just update the stream title so they know what we're talking about. And we can just jump straight into Renata. I don't have the PNGs though. Let me just get them. Would be easier. I need to get the PNGs and also the pen. Pen. Where you at? Epic pen. Here we are. And then I should grab the PNG here. Give me a second. Okay, great. So I don't make a mistake. Perfect. Everything good here. Everything's working properly. I guess we're good to go. So this is the first list for today. Once again, quick disclaimer before we get into more of the build and like the interaction and stuff as we usually do. Maybe I should talk about the format because some of you guys probably just landed and you don't know what we're doing here. But like, I'm going to talk about the format. Just give me a second to make a quick disclaimer. This deck is nowhere near tier 1, alright? This is sort of the best version I was able to achieve with Renata. Trying to take into consideration its strengths and weaknesses and what the overall archetype wants to do. but it's probably nowhere near top tier, and it's probably not seeing success, and probably Renata is not seeing success at all. So this is already something that you have to keep in mind. It's like probably this legend is just too weak, in my opinion. And if this wants to perform on like a specific event or regional, they probably have to come with a super cheesy Renata build that like takes advantage of some weird stuff in the format. Like let's say the format shifts to like super control decks, and then somehow Renata tokens is able to pressure the game enough to get to 5 points, and then she just like stomps control decks. And then we could be like, okay-ish, I guess. But like aside from that, aside from some cheesy situation, I don't see Renata performing at the super oil level. That being said, if you want to try and play Renata and want to try and build it, this is probably a list that you could use to start. And I'm going to talk about most of the decisions, but overall, I feel like this is pretty much what Renata can do best. For those who don't know the format yet, because maybe some of you don't, we are going to talk about like the theory as first. So like the idea behind the deck, what was the game plan, the champion, the legend, why did I include like X chord and X chord, what's the sideboard about, what's the battlefields about, all of that stuff. And then we're going to do this for Renata, Jax, Azir, and Sivir, because these are the only like the remaining 4 Spirit Forge legends that we did not do. If you want to see any other guides on the other Spirit Forge legends, the other 8, feel free to jump on the YouTube channel. I will just pin the link at the top of the chat. You have it now. And there are the 8 first guides that we made on the other 8 legends. And tonight we're going to talk about the 4 remaining ones. Yo, Mike, how you doing, my brother? Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and much love to you, my friends. Thank you so much for the support as per usual. Also, thank you so much, Treasony, for the photo. Thank you, brother. So, let's get into Renata. The cat is a pain. Like, please. She's, like, I think we started the stream about, like, what? 20 minutes ago? Something like that? 20 minutes? She already went, like, in and out, like, 4 times. Like, please! Please. Sivir good. Sivir is decent. Yes. Sivir is. So the joke about tonight's tweet was we were talking about the bad Spirit Forge legends and Sivir. Like Sivir is way above those 3 others. Is it going to be tier 1? I don't know, but it definitely has potential to at least see play and perform. I believe personally. Don't like call of the week. Interesting. You will probably see from like the list that I'm playing that I'm going to talk about the philosophy overall, but like I'm not running so much units, and I decided to not run token generators. Like I'm not running the Legion that spawns 2 tokens. I'm not running the Manufacturer. I'm not running the Drummer, the when I move create a token. And we don't have Victor's Legend ability. So most likely we don't want to run Curl, because then if you are clearing your own units, I mean, I could see it in the sideboard for some specific matchups, but overall you really want to be some sort of an aggro-ish control deck that wins early trades through like spells, and then get to 5 points, and that's when you unleash your late game, at least in theory. Good, I'm playing building any Sivir, Draven, and or MF probably. You purple all over, huh? We loving purple instead too. I mean, you probably aren't right. Wrong, sorry. Like purple is pretty damn good in set 2 in my opinion. So let's start with Renata before we get into potentially better legends. Purple is life. I believe purple in set 2 is going to be close to what we could call life, yes. Or at least a lifeline for several decks. Let's start as we usually do with the legend and the champion, because maybe some of you guys don't know about any of those. So let's start with this. The legend is Renata, Chem Baroness. By the way, this is probably my favorite set 2 alternative legend. I really love the colors. I just think this combination of colors is just like stunning. Unfortunately, it's trash, but yeah, maybe if it's cheap, I will grab one just for the binder or stuff, because I really love it. Visually, it's like stunning. I really love it. So Renata Cam Baroness is a blue-yellow legend, so same color combination as Victor and Lux. That reads, when you or an ally odds, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted, and while your score is within 3 points of the victory score, your golds add an additional energy. So the way this works is, let me just grab a gold token, because I don't believe they have this in the core gallery yet. Maybe I'm wrong though. Let me just check. Golds. Gold. Oh, we do have golds. Okay. So the way this works is if you're, let's say in a normal game, because it's 3 points from victory score, so battlefields and stuff could alter that. But let's say we are in a normal game. Once you get to 5 points as a Renata player, whenever you tap your gold to kill it and add a power, you also add an energy, sort of what Darius does. In the Legion, tap me, add 1 energy. Then in Renata, every gold becomes 1 power and 1 energy. So on paper, this is kinda good. The only problem with that is that we have to get to 5 points. And unfortunately, if we like step away of the Victor ability giving us tokens and tokens to trade with in the mid game, yellow and blue are not super good colors to fight in the early game. I mean, like, they're decent, but they're not the best. So we had to find some workarounds to try and proc this ability as consistently as we can. And then let's talk about the champion, which I decided to be that one. We could talk about that one too, just right after. Do we have a preset to tier list? I have sort of a preset to tier list that we did make on stream, but I've not updated it since playtesting the decks, especially because I wanted to do all of the guides before, and maybe next week we try to call some, maybe Tog, maybe Randy, some pro player, or like if you don't like the word pro player, at least like confirmed player that's been playtesting the format way more than I did, to try and update some sort of a tier list and have a tier list talk. So I'm hoping we can manage to pull this off next week, but for this week I don't have an updated version of it, even though I could show it to you. It's not like up to date, but I feel like I was pretty much right on not everything, but most of it. Here we are. So this is, don't mind the categories. This is probably here. This is probably here. This is unfortunately not that good, and I think that's about it. No, maybe this goes down and this goes up and up. Yeah, probably something like that. I would say something like that, top of my head, without thinking too much about it. I would have to think a bit more about it. I mean, Azir is not like that bad, but nah. Love how Rumble isn't in mech tiers. Rumble got a promotion, but he's not good. Let me tell you, he's not like giga good either. Thank you for the follow, Arctic. But next week, Baylor, Wednesday, because today is Thursday stream, I mean, because yesterday was 31st, plus family duties, plus stuff, so I decided to move the stream to Thursday. But aside from that, starting next week, we'll be back to the usual Wednesday 8 p.m. Paris time stream. So if you guys want to jump in and see something like a tier list talk or some sort of tier list talk, feel free to save the date. Ezreal up. I don't think. Okay, so Ezreal feels super good, but I think Ezreal has a problem, and that problem is deflect. And if pairing into something like Ornn and stuff, Ezreal instantly becomes giga unplayable, in my opinion. Which is the problem. If Ornn and Irelia are not so represented, I could see Ezreal up. But as long as you pair into Ornn or Irelia, I feel like there's not much you can do, even being like super good at Ezreal, which is sort of the problem, in my opinion. Like, let's say they just hit a GA, and then they have like Deflect Irelia or Deflect Ornn with a GA. Like, what do you do, right? You can't clear it outside of like recycling a billion runes, and then it just goes back to base and you have to do it all over again. So yeah, this is a big problem in my opinion. Aside from that, I do agree that Ezreal feels super good. So champion wise, we had the option to pick that one, our Renata. that is a 4 energy and a power for 4 might units, and that reads your tokens enter ready. Once again, I decided not to play tokens. Something interesting to note with that card is that it includes gold tokens. So in theory, you could use it to play cards like Horde Bargain, stuff like that, spawn tokens and they enter ready, like gold tokens, and you could kill it instantly to generate power and stuff. The only thing that I did not kind of like with this is that if I'm not going to be playing like token units, it's super slow. Like it gets really slow because then I have to drop Renata in base. Then next turn I have to play a card that gives me a gold gear, but then I use like some of my runes already. So either I have enough runes or I have to wait another turn to value the gold. And then this card did not achieve anything if I don't value the gold on spot. So I don't hate it. I just think if you want to play this card, you have to play a token-oriented list, which is not the case with my list. So I decided to pick Renata Glass Mastermind. And, well, this unit is a 5 energy, no power cost, 4 might unit, so pretty bad, math-wise, if you will. And then it has 2 abilities. The first one is pay an energy and a power to draw 1. And the second one is pay 4 energy and 4 power and tap me to score a point. And you can only use these abilities while I'm at a battlefield. The idea behind this Renata, let's go back onto the list and you guys will probably get the idea. The idea with this Renata is I want to maximize my gold tokens generation through a lot of them cards that I'm going to talk about later on. And I'm going to try to get to 5 points super early in the game, as fast as I can actually, because then if I manage to get to 5 points, which a lot of cards in this list allow me to do, I can just crack all of my golds to draw a card for each one of these. Because let's say I make a gold with a Poro, right? So gold, once again, here is gold. This is probably the most important card in this build, the gold. When I get to 5 points, this reads reaction, add a power and an energy. And so you can use a gold token to pay for blue Renata, draw 1 ability. And so the idea is I'm going to play super aggro through like spells and stuff in the early game. And then I'm just going to develop Renata straight in the battlefield. And I'm going to pop all of them tokens already to try and draw as many cards as I need to like refill my hands and get like have much more control over the board. And then next turn, if she's still alive, she restands and I can pay 4 power and 4 energy, tap it to score a point. So that's basically the point of the list. This is like, this card is just helping us stabilize the draw power because unfortunately, Renata has some sort of the same problems Victor had, as in like blue and yellow don't have super good draw power tools. And if you try to include draw power in them, you're most likely cutting on useful cards because like you need a lot of toolbox to make these 2 colors work together. So this Renata kind of fills in the gap in between blue and yellow in terms of draw power, which I don't hate. To be fair, this card is not as bad as expected it to be when it got released. It's not like super good, but at least it gives the deck some sort of functional draw power, which I don't hate. Then let's start with the units. There's not too many of them. And then we can talk about the gold parts, because that's probably the most important part. Units-wise, let me just pick a pink pen. We have Plundering Poro. Oh, it's blue. Here we go. We have Plundering Poro, and we have Honest Broker. These ones are pretty obvious, I feel like. Plundering is when you conquer, create a gold token. Broker is when I die, create a gold token. So straight up makes sense, right? We want to grab them early points while also spawning them gold tokens if possible. Both these cards achieve to do both of these objectives. So we're playing the maximum copies on this. And then Ravenbloom, I'm still hesitating on including a third Ravenbloom in there because once again, we have to get them points in the early game and Ravenbloom is not too bad. So you could definitely cut a card sharp for a Ravenbloom. Still thinking about it, but maybe I will end up doing it. And Ravenbloom is just a good card overall in this build because we are playing so many spells. that I kind of wanted Raven Bloom to make sure I could have that extra bit of might in the early game, even though we have a lot of kill spells, which don't care so much about our very own might. We have the Blood Money, we have the Hidden Blade, we have the Hostile Takeover. It's not like a kill spell, but it's like pseudo kill. You take control, you win a turn or two. So yeah, Hostile is pseudo kill spell. We have Wages, of course. And then we have Smokescreen and Stupefy to pair with these deal damage X cards, and then we reduce the might and we kill. So Ravenbloom felt a bit worse than the two other ones, but that being said, you could definitely play 3 Ravenblooms and cut on 1 Chord Sharp to make sure you open a turn 1 by Deep Mulliganing and make sure you can score in the early game. Then Chord Sharp is just a broken chord. Unfortunately, I could not fit enough chord sharps in this list to make it a 3 off, but I really think this chord is just like completely cracked. You're playing a 3 energy, 3 might unit that has a negative power cost because it gives you a power for the upcoming turn to use. And then in this list, we are also playing the retreat. So we could theoretically spam the sharp, as in like, we play sharp, we get the gold token, next turn we use it to conquer, and when it gets traded, we retreat it back to end. So we have a gold, we have an extra rune because of retreat, and then we can just play sharp again and have another gold. So this is super good in terms of value and what it provides to the deck. And retreat is also part, we could count retreat in the units lineup, sort of, because it helps us have that continuous flow of early game units to score them early points, which is needed. I was not playing retreat at first, and I kind of felt like once they get rid of like 1 or 2 of my units, if I don't hit one of the big endgame pieces, it's super hard to enable that Renata. So I kind of wanted to have retreat to add a bit more stability and also a bit of synergy in this deck by getting runes and also triggering the Cusk that we're going to talk about just later on. And then for the top ends, if you guys were there when we did the Spirit Forge reveals, which was some time ago, it was something like about a month ago or ish, maybe a bit more, I was pretty interested in the idea of building a Ornn Cask deck. Cask being this card that we're going to read right now, because it's not seeing play so far in the early days of the format, but I think Renata has a decent potential at being the Ornn Cask deck. Let me just grab the Cask so we could see it. Cask is a gear that only costs an energy and reads when you play a spell on an opponent's turn, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. And so, really good stream. Thank you so much, Mari. Thank you so much for the support. Much love. Much love. Thank you so much. And so Cask is... the idea behind Cask was like, this allows me to generate 1 billion gold gear tokens, right? And then when we have all of them gold gear tokens alive on the board, these give +1 to Ornn. Because Ornn, maybe you guys don't know about Ornn. Ornn is this. Weapon Master, Deflect 2, blah, blah, blah. I have +1 for each friendly gear. And so this Ornn somehow becomes giga big because we have 1 billion gold tokens. This is the idea behind that list, basically. And so I was pretty interested in trying to include Cask in Ornn the Legend. The problem is that Ornn has to play too much equips for Cask to be viable, because then you can't play enough spells to trigger Cask often. This perfectly fits in Renata's theme, because then when you drop the Cask, and then let's say you drop something like Stupefy, we get +1 for on Ornn from the Cask, and then +1 from the Stupefy, because Stupefy through Cask generates a gold token. And so this is +2 on Ornn, and this scales basically infinitely. If you use like all of these cards that you can use during your opponent's turn, all of these spells, make sure that Cask is able to generate a gold token basically every turn. Now, I see you. You're going to say, yeah, but you just died to Thermobeam. We do. We do. I told you guys, don't get too excited. This deck is probably never going to be top of the pop, but at least it has some sort of viable build that I wanted to share. If they Thermobeam you, you probably lose the game. It is what it is, I guess. This is also why I try to include some sort of overall utility cards in the sideboard, so that like game 2 and 3, we could switch to some sort of like more controlish list with the Singo and the Breaker over something like the Casks and maybe like the money or whatever or the retreats. The problem is like, yeah, we could do that, but then we're still not a good deck, right? So might as well try to cheese our way in, is what I feel like. And so if we want to have some sort of big tower in the late game, I don't think there's anything best than a, let's say we did use Cask and made a token, which like most of the time we're going to have at least 2 tokens or 1 Cask and a token when Ornn can drop. We have a 6 energy, no power cost, 6 might or more unit that has deflect too. And that scales. The more God tokens we get, the better Ornn gets. So I felt like Ornn was super good in this strategy. And then the last card is Watcher, because if you're playing a blue deck and you're not playing Watcher in like an early format like the one we're in right now, you're probably mistaken. I think in later on in the format, if we realize that Watcher is not like super cracked into the top decks, we could cut it. But right now, playing into a super diverse field of player not knowing very well what their deck does, probably Watcher is a card you want to play. So this is my top end for the build. And then the rest of the deck is basically cards that trigger Cask. So we have Stupefy, allows us to once again get a bit of draw power, which we like. Allows us to make Ravenbloom a very decent card, also in the mid game. And basically also combines with Blood Money and with Wages. Because Blood Money is kill a unit that is 2 might or less, and Wages is deal 3. And both then generate a gold token. So Stupefy works perfectly fine with this. Then Retreat, I talked about it already. Blood Money and Wages are control tools that allow us in the early game to sometimes make double conquers, sometimes make sure we get the holds. Because if they have a unit in the battlefield, like a turn 1 in there, we can just Blood Money it or Wages it and kill it. We make a gold token and then we can push with whatever we have developed in base. Also, all of these are actions/reactions, so these trigger Cask if we want it. And then Smokescreen is sort of a more aggressive Stupefy that helps us clear bigger bodies through Wages and Blood Money, and also helps us protect units like Ravenbloom, like maybe even Pole Roar stuff in the early game to make sure we can score them early points. Eden Blade, you guys know about it already, not much to talk about. Consults, unfortunately, sometimes when you're playing like maybe sometimes you're playing from behind or you're playing into a control matchup and then like they prevent you from scoring them early points that you need for that blue Renata to work. We still need a bit of draw power, and Consult helps. Also Consult, when you hide it, becomes a trigger for Cask. So sometimes you can just like break a gold token to pay the power to hide Consult for free, quote unquote. And then next turn, when you flip it to draw, you just regenerate that gold token of Cask. And so it's pseudo free draw too, which is like super good, of course. And then Takeover is probably the most important card of the deck. This is a card that we have to read together, because if you guys don't know Takeover, this is how in most games you claim your 5th point, or the point you need to get in range to activate Renata's ability. So Hostile is a 5 energy 2 power signature spell for Renata that you can hide. So once again, in this deck, you can make it pseudo free because you can break a gold to hide it, and then when you flip it, you can use Cask to regenerate that gold. So once again, free-ish spell that allows you to take control of an enemy unit at a battlefield. Ready it. If there were 2 units in there, you start a combat with the unit you just stole and your opponent's unit. If it was the only unit there, you conquer the battlefield and you score a point. And then at the end of the turn, you lose control of that unit and you recall it, which means sending it to base. And so this is in the mid game. What you use, it's super easy for this deck to get to like 2, 3, 4 points. It's sometimes a bit harder to get to them extra rune counts, as in like extra point counts, as in like 5, 6 that you need to trigger the legend ability. And so Hostile helps you a lot. You can just slam it during your turn, paying the power with gold tokens, take control of battlefield, score Then at the end of the turn, their unit goes back to base. Or you can just hide it, and when they come attacking you, you just flip it, take control, unit goes back to base, and you keep the hold and you score the hold. So this card helps you not only like into close games, but also in the mid game to score that extra point. Because remember that in Renata, at least in this list, we're trying to not pay power costs. And if you look at the cards on that deck, we don't pay power costs. Like there's 1 here, 2 here, but we can hide it, so we're most likely not paying 2 most of the time, and 2 here. And that's about it. Oh, there's 1 on smokescreen too. But like we generate so much gold and we use so few, because we really want to keep them for this Renata, that we are able to sometimes hide and just like break a gold, hide, and it's fine. We're just going to regenerate it with the cask, and that's about it. Thank you for the photo, Jeff. What do you think about the 2 fee over the core sharps? Feel like it would improve the driven matchup heavily if we see high driven average, like, yeah, representation in the format. Also could be free with the gold to hide fee. Could be. The problem is like fee is a core that no matter how you play it costs power, whereas sharp is a core that no matter how you play it generates power. So we would have to have some sort of like, that's a big gap, right? You go from +1 power to -1 in the mid game, which is something I think this deck does not want to do. That being said, it's not like super bad. This is definitely playable. You could play it. I just love Sharp, and I just love how it interacts with Retreat. You could play it, potentially. Does this make the Draven matchup better? Probably better. Does it make it favorable? Definitely not. And once again, like this deck is not here to win turns. This is just trying to make Renata work, in my opinion. But yeah, you could definitely play it. You know, I'm a big Fee-Folk fan. No, not Fee-Folk. Blastcone. Discord. Blastcone Fee. You know, I'm a big Blastcone Fee fan, so it could definitely see play. The only problem I had, which made me not auto-include Blastcone in there, is that it's not a spell, and so it does not trigger Cask, because Casks needs the card you play during your opponent's turn to be a spell to trigger. And so I wanted to maximize on that amount of spells. But maybe you could also play Blastcone, yes, and try to have a better mid-game into Draven. I could say that. So that's about it for the main board and its strategy. I feel like if we go over to the battlefield, true, it's not a spell. Yeah, that's the problem. But you likely get the hold from Chem Baroness. Yeah, that's true. I could see it. I could see Blastcone jumping in the list. Maybe over 2 Sharps and... Not so sure what the third card would be. But yeah, I could see it. Or maybe just 2 of them. I could see it too. I don't... Like, you know I like that card. Then, battlefield-wise, we have a problem in that we want to be an aggressive deck, but sometimes you also lack that draw power to ensure you can remain aggressive. So at first I kind of wanted to run Arena's Greatest to enhance the speed at which I can reach the threshold for Renata's Legend ability, but it sometimes just fucked me up in some games because like my opponent was playing something super aggressive and I was going second, let's say, and then it's Giga Art, so then you switch to like, okay, then I have to play Greatest going first. It's not good in every game. I have to be going first to actually make use of it. But then Ravenbloom is just so good going first that I did not really want to play Greatest on the spot of Ravenbloom. So I decided game 1 to play Zone Warren. I tried Arena, but I decided to play Zone Warren. So when you conquer here, discard 1, draw 1. It's a bit of a problem when you run into these purple discord decks with the... what's the name of the gear? The thing that reads when I'm discarded, draw 1. Whatever, I just remember later on. When you run into these purple decks, it could be a bit of a problem, but also... Yes, Crab Ape, thank you, Mike. Also, most of these decks already run Zone Warren as their game 1 battlefield. So it kind of feels like it's whatever. And then when you're not facing them, it's kind of fine for you to use Zone Warren to cycle your end and maybe get rid of the extra casks, maybe get rid of your extra horns if you have too many of them, maybe like get rid of some spells that you don't want to see in the mid game. So like I did not hate Warren. It just felt like it was more consistent than Arena. While Arena felt super good going first and sometimes bad going second, and I did not want something that's so inconsistent. And the reason for that, once again, is Ravenbloom. So if you guys don't know Ravenbloom, because it's a new battlefield, so maybe you don't know about Ravenbloom, Ravenbloom Conservatory is when you defend here, reveal the top card of your main deck. If it's a spell, put it in your hand, otherwise recycle it. And this is definitely my going first battlefield in Renata, because we have 3, 6, 9, 11, 13, 16, plus 2, 18, 21 spells, and we can go even higher post sideboards. Because this is a post sideboard battlefield, because this is when you lose a game and you decide to go first, you play on Ravenbloom. So I really did want to play Ravenbloom. More than half of the deck is draw, and we have a lot of kill spells, which leads to like, I get in Ravenbloom, you have to come and challenge me, because my like the entire purpose of this list is to jump to 5 points, so you have to come and contest, you can't let me hold for free, or else I get like gold tokens and stuff, so you have to come, I get to flip the top, then potentially grab a card of it, and then I have so many tools to push you back and force you to re-attack in there and then trigger it again, because this ability is not once per turn, it's when you defend. So they attack, you kill their unit through whatever, blades, stupefy, and then you get over, or smoke screen and then you get over in terms of might, whatever. You kill their units, if they attack again, you trigger the Ravenbloom again. And so that's what I wanted. Also, once again, this helps us fix that draw power issue that I've been talking about for quite some time now. And then going second is Treasure Hoard, which does not feel too bad. If they get a gold gear token, it's fine. If you manage to conquer in there through something like Ravenbloom, something like Fox Horn, you get additional gold tokens. Does not feel bad. Probably, like, unfortunately, Renata does not have like super giga good built-in archetype battlefields. At least I've not seen them yet. You have the other battlefield that's like pay for, what's the name? Battlefields. I think it's Quark or something. Power something Quark. Battlefield, blah 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 blah. Did I miss it? Yep. Power Nexus. Power Nexus. So when you hold here, you may pay 4 power to score a point, right? In theory, this would make a lot of sense, but the thing is, they want to stop you from holding. Which means if you're holding, you're most likely winning already. You can trigger that Renata, you can trigger that ability to make golds. So, yeah, theoretically, when you're winning, it makes you win faster. But then when you're not winning, this does not help at all. Whereas an extra gold, I feel like could help a bit more, or be at least a bit more proactive in the mid game. They have to get into the horde, so they also have to, like, if we're playing this going second, it's either they go in there going third battlefield, like let's say it's Grove or something to draw cards, or they go into horde, and if they decide not to go into horde because they want to go into their Grove, then you just push into horde and you get that gold token for free. So I did not hate it in testing. I feel like this deck has legs, it can walk. Can it run? Probably not. Can it be good? Probably not. Is it close to what I think Renata can do best? So far, I would say yes. I might be mistaken, but I would say yes. I don't think it's like giga good, once again, but if you want to try Renata and have fun, I think this is a good starting point, or at least a decent one. And then feel free to, once again, I don't have a billion games on each and every of these legends, especially the ones that I did not want to play too much. So feel free to make improvements, changes, test stuff. Mike was talking about Blastcone. You like Blastcone? Feel free to try Blastcone in there, and maybe it's going to come up and be super good. The idea is just to give you an overall plan and also some sort of like starting baseline list. Thank you for the follow, 30th of October. Welcome home, brother. Thank you for the support. And then sideboard-wise, do we really need to talk about sideboarding in this list? Yeah, maybe we have to. Salvage is just too cracked not to play in set 2, in my opinion, when you're playing yellow. There are so many gears that you have to remove. It just feels pretty good. Worst case scenario, you just draw a card. I mean, I like that card. Facebreaker is for going first. It's a pretty good option, actually, when going first. That allows you to trade with some of the decks we mentioned before. Someone talked about Draven. Draven does not have a lot of ways to remove your bodies from the board straight up. And most of them they don't want to use in the early game. So Facebreaker is some sort of a super good answer. The only problem is when you're going second, Facebreaker is kinda shit. Because if you have to attack in a BF, then they play something to outmight you, then you have to play Facebreaker. Sure, your unit does not die, but it goes back to base, and like it's giga slow, you don't score, and you really can't afford that in Renata. So I was playing some of them in the main deck at first. Also, it's a card you can hide, so technically you can play it for free. But for going first, it's proven to be pretty good. And you can play it on top of like switch it with the Hidden Blades, going first, or switch it with the core sharps, or depending on the matchups, like really you can switch it with a lot of stuff, but it's proven to be pretty good. Thank you for the fellow Bitcoin. Welcome on, brother. So definitely Facebreaker has to be in the deck when going first. And then Singularity is also for some of them like super aggressive, I would say, mid-game matchups. I'm thinking Draven, potentially Sivir, maybe even Fiora, like some of these decks that are able to generate powerful bodies that if you can't deal with them because they have too much might to be dealt with the blood money and wages, you kinda have to have the Singularity in there to get rid of them. I believe it could be the same into Kai'Sa, but Kai'Sa is running the mech now, the Ferrous Forerunner. So Singularity is not so good into Forerunner because yes, you kill it, but there are 2 mech stock and then it's the same problem all over. But there are some matchups in which you need to get rid of what they play in the mid game, like the units they play tapped in base, to buy that extra turn, score that extra ult, and get in the Renata range. So that's about it for the list. Could you see a potential list going first with Bando 3, Facebreaker, Consult, Hostile, Fee, Hidden Blade? Post side then? Maybe. But I feel like going first, not playing for Conservatory is crazy. Like, why would you not play like, is Bando 3 better than Conservatory? I don't think so. Oh, first game? Probably not. Because then if you win the dice, you're in a super good spot. But if you lose the dice, you're in a super tough spot, I believe. So yeah, I would probably not opt for a Facebreaker main deck. Or you play like 2 of these, maybe. But then if you're going second, Discord is not going to be super giga good. Or then maybe you want to play some stuff like Time Warp, and then you have a like way to make up for going second. I decided not to. You guys know I kinda don't like Time Warp. It's getting even worse now that we have Fiora in the game that can counter Time Warp for just 2 energy open with the signature. So I feel like, yeah, if you want to play something like that, you would have to play Time Warps. We could jump in the section about the cards I decided not to play. One of them I talked about already is the Yellow Renata, so I'm not going to do it all over again. Blast Config could be part of that list. I feel like, yeah, it could be included. It's not a bad card by any means, so if you want to try and play Blast Config, feel free. The only thing that stopped me from doing so was that it's not a spell for Cask, but does it mean it's a bad card? Probably not. Time Warp, I just talked about it, and these were the cards that I had. As in, like, I decided not to play this. I should probably explain why. If there's any other cards that you want to have my opinion on, feel free to do just as Mike did. Or I believe someone else asked about me not playing the Code Week. Which one was it? Who was it? Can't find it. Oh, Benyu, yeah. Feel free to ask your questions. If you have any questions on, like, I'm running this code, what do you think about it? Feel free to ask. That's what I'm here for. And if we're good to go with Renata, how about we jump straight onto our next list? Vengeance. Vengeance could come in from the sideboards. Yeah, Vengeance could come in from the sideboard in specific big units matchups that it's very hard for you to retake. The problem with Vengeance, in my opinion, is that if we get to a point where we can't really deal with their units, like let's say they're playing something like Aurora, like Big Bodies Sivir, Big Bodies Rumble, whatever, And we get to a point to which like we have to use vengeance to kill units because we can't deal with them otherwise. That game is probably over because next turn they can play another one, and if we don't have another vengeance, we can still not deal with it. Like we still don't have a way to deal with it. So in some super aggressive deck in which like vengeance can close the game by like clearing the battlefield and then you can just push in there and win that game, I could see it. If we want to play some sort of like tokens Renata list that's more aggressive, I could see it. Aside from that, I probably don't see Vengeance being a super great toolbox in the deck, but it's not like a useless card. Also, if I were to play a like straight up removal card, I would probably play the other one, which I can't remember the name of. Unfortunately, it's a yellow card. Give me a second, we'll find it. Yellow. Yellow, what's yellow in there? Oh no, it's below. Yeah. Dragonder, no. Oh, yo Sailor, how you doing, my guy? Yo everyone, yo Yuko, how you doing, brothers? Much love. Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, and all the good stuff to you guys. Wishing you health, and then if health is good, everything's good. Where's the card at? Where's the card at? Who? Oh, this one, Blast. Yeah, this one. Because it's simply because it's an action. And so it can protect your bodies and it can trigger the cask. So if I were to play a straight up kill card, I would probably play Blast. Even though it's a bit more expensive, the fact that it's an action makes me think it's probably a bit more flexible / better in Renata. Hope you guys had a great stream. Thank you so much for the raids. So that's about it for my Renata list. Once again, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them now or on YouTube if you're watching this in the comments. And then let's jump straight onto the next legend. Oops, wrong button. Which one do we want to talk about, chat? We have Azir, Sivir, and Jax left. How about we do another bad one? So then we have Sivir for Surge. Then we have a bad one left for the 4th spot. And then we can have some sort of TCG Arena gameplay with one of these lists. Probably Sivir if I had to pick. But maybe I'll let you guys pick which legend I'm playing at the end of the stream. Let's jump onto Jax. And then we're just going to talk about Sivir and then Azir. Here we go. Let me just grab the image. Yo, Mia. How you doing, my brother? Happy New Year and Merry Christmas to you, my friends. The most famous random in the chat. If you guys don't have the lore, one of my streamer friends, Robalas, called Mia a random, I believe, on stream. And so I've been laughing at Mia for some time through the random allegations. Did you see that Jax Aurora list? Yup, I saw that Aurora list. I definitely did see that Aurora list. So, let's talk about Aurora first if we want to, because I'm going to talk about like the philosophy I had building this list, and then you'll probably understand some of the stuff. I did not want to build Jax into Aurora because I feel like Aurora is sort of an easy way out for most orange decks, right? Like set 1, Garen is bad, just play Aurora. Volibear is bad, just play Aurora. Jax is bad, just play Aurora. This is not something I'm personally excited about. Also, when you're playing Aurora, the best cards in your deck is Deadbloom Predator. And I feel like Deadbloom does not combine too well with Jax because it relies on equips. And then you can't really equip to a Deadbloom that's entering in the battlefield straight up. So I just think this is a way out to make Jax decent because of Aurora. Is it a good way to build Jax? Probably it could be the better way to build Jax, but is it like what the archetype wants to do? Definitely not. So I tried to build more of a like accurate, lore accurate, if you will, Jax list without the Aurora. If you want to see it though, it's on the Runes and Rift Twitter account. They shared the list, so feel free to give it a check. But that's not what we are going to be talking about tonight. Also, I have to edit the stream title. Jax Genie with the lamp lists. Here we go. Stream title updated. You guys haven't had. So let's wait for 50 seconds before we jump onto the Legends talk. And yeah, we could just fish for that list. Let me just not pop my Twitter on stream straight up. We never know. We never know. Runes and Rift, I believe. Runes and Rift shared it, I think. Nope. Oh yes. So this is the list Mike was talking about. For those wondering, this is the Aura list. I don't even know how this did. I just know this guy got a streamed game in the last Runes and Rift tourney, which is why it's been talk of the town. But do we think it's really good? It's probably not, right? Like, we're playing a Jax list with only 6 equips, which Bone Shiver we can't even really use with the Aura bodies. Nah, I feel like I don't like this list, but it is what it is. I feel like if an orange deck is bad, just make it Aura and then it's like decent. Most likely. So, Jax Genie with the lamp. The idea behind the build, and then we're going to, or let's just start with the legend, right? Let's just start with the legend. So the legend Grandmaster at Orms Jax is a green-orange legend, which means it's directly competing with not only Lee Sin, but obviously Master Yi, which is a tough spot to be in. And it has 2 abilities. The first one is pay an energy and tap me to attach a detached equipment you control to a unit you control, or tap me to attach an attached equipment you control to a unit you control. So basically, what you're very good at doing is moving equips around, which gives some value to some of them equips. And what you're decent at doing is paying an energy instead of a power to equip most of your equips. So you can make sure you don't deramp through equips, at least try not to. And then you can value equips that have abilities when they are attached, or that have abilities when they do something that they can do with the unit in base, like let's say Conquer, because we're going to talk about some of the equips later on. So this is the legend that we are playing, and also we are playing the Jax Unrelenting Orange Champion, which is a 4 energy and a power for 3 energy units, 3 might units, sorry, that reads Weapon Master. And also, when you attach an equipment to me, you may pay 1 to draw 1. Pay 1 energy, of course. I think Jax is poo-poo. Yeah, kind of. Jax, for 2 nice legends, Jax and Renata are straight up not good. Azir is probably not good. It's probably decent, but not so good. And Sivir, I could see it performing. This is what we are going to talk about tonight. So don't expect like giga cracked lists. I'm just covering all 12 of the Spirit Forge legends, and so I'm giving a starting like baseline deck list for each of these, trying to make these work and not let some people like, I want to play Jax, how do? I don't care, it's too bad, right? So the idea is that we want to play an equip deck, you guessed it. We have 2 abilities on the legend that work with equips, and we have a champion that has 2 abilities that works with equips too. So we are going to have to play a lot of them equips. The idea with this list is to make sure we see them equips, and ideally to drop equips in the early game, so that way we can just drop the champion, abuse the Weapon Master ability to equip to it, then pay the energy to draw a card, and the champion becomes decent. Because aside of the equip stuff, the champion is like giga trash. Like paying 4 energy and a power for a 3 might unit is pretty bad. We would have loved it if our champion was Yoni, but somehow it became this shit, and the other one is even worse. So we have to play this Jax. It's kind of a, like, we have to play champion, so we play this one. It's not the worst one, but is it a good unit? Probably not. It can help us draw cards in the mid game, but that's about it. What do you think of Green Jax? I saw Savages playing it yesterday. I don't think it's like giga bad. The only thing is like it's super expensive, and it kinda like does not combo with the rest of the list. Because what we want to do in this list is play. Okay, let's talk about this list first, Mike, and then you remind me when we're done to talk about the green jacks, right? Let's talk about this list first, and then you're going to understand why I think green jacks is not good, right? So what we want to do with this list, and this is why I'm only playing the Lonely Poro as a turn 1 unit, 2 energy unit. This is the only one I'm playing. What we want to do with this list is to play a lot of equips. Because once again, we have to work with equips, and we have Weapon Master in the build to not pay for the equips. But for Weapon Master to work, the order in which we need to do things is 1 play equip, 2 play units. And we can't really go for the 1 play unit, 2 play equips, because then Weapon Master does not proc. It's only when we play the unit that we get to proc the Weapon Master. So this made me think that we had to play some sort of heavy equips lineup that we want to play as turn 1s, and that's what I did with this list, because I'm playing 3 of Brutalizer, which is like super good in the deck. It's probably the most valuable card in the deck. 3 of Guardian Angel and 3 of Doran Blade on top of 3 of Lonely Poro. So Lonely is just a good early game unit, especially if you don't see Lucian. Sometimes your early game can be kinda slow, so I really wanted to have a second copy of a unit to drop in the early game. Of course, Lucian is the better one, but Lonely is decent. And then when it dies, it releases its equips and it draws a card, so pretty fine with that. And then if we get into like either Lonely or Lucian, then in the mid game we have the Jax, and then in the late game we have the Yoni. So we kind of have some sort of like functional lists. You could play more units. I decided to play a bunch of equips to be able to drop them in the very early. And then we have Angel, of course, that saves a unit, so acts as a pseudo unit and stuff. So that was the plan. Since anyway we're going to be skipping turn 1 because we're playing a gear, might as well not play a bunch of turn 1s that are not good in this deck. That's the first thing. Then equips wise, as I mentioned, Brutalizer is pretty good because it is, if this was attached to me this turn, you give me +2. So let me just show you the card, maybe you're going to understand it better by seeing it's Brutalizer. So this is a 2 energy equip that gives +1 to a unit. But if this was attached to me this turn, it gives +3 instead. And as I just told you, Jax can move, like Jax is pretty good actually at moving gears around. Either through the Weapon Master, because with Weapon Master you can steal an equip from another one of your units, or you can also use the ability of Jax to move them around. And so the idea is that we abuse the Brutalizer to move it around the board, and every turn it becomes +3 for a unit, and we have a free swing with the Brutalizer. So this is the equip that we want to see in the early game, but it's not enough on its own to make up for the numbers. So we also play Doran Blade, which is straight up +2, and that's about it. We play GA, which is save a unit and +1 might, Pseudo Zonia and then +1 might. And we also play as our 12th piece of equipment, Bone Shiver. Bone Shiver is when I conquer, you may channel 1 rune Exhausted. And one of Jax's problems is that you play the challenge, you play the punch first, your champion costs a power, you play the 3 5s, you play the 3 signatures, you play the Yoni. And so if you have to pay some power to equip at some point in the game, you might be feeling like you're very low on runes. And Bone Shiver is helping in that regard. On top of being a pretty good equip at giving value, might-wise, Bone Shiver, and you don't pay the energy, or sorry, the power to attach it, you just pay the energy because of Jax's ability, right? You tap Jax, you pay energy, you attach Bone Shiver, so you don't pay the power, or you just use the Weapon Master and then you pay the energy and not the power, but like, anyways, you're not paying the power. That's the point of Bone Shiver. And then you try to equip it to something like Lucian, which this deck is pretty much a Lucian MVP deck, Lucian carry, that wants to equip a lot of stuff to Lucian and then have it move around the board and score points and be somewhat uncatchable. That's the idea behind that deck. So we talked about the equips already. I feel like these are more important Oh, my mouth just has 0 battery. Give me a second. I thought my computer crashed, but it's fine. It's just my mouth dying. Give me a second. Here we go. Here we go. Great. Let me just plug it, and it should be working fine. Let's just have it go here. And then can I click now? Yep, I can. Perfect. I thought we just got a blue screen. I was like giga scared. Because last week the stream crashed for whatever reason. So equips are sort of the main piece of this deck. And then if we want to talk about units, we have the Lonely Poro. I talked about it already. We have the Lucians, which are the goats in this list. Lucian is the first time I conquer each turn ready me and Weapon Master. And so the idea is like turn 1 we drop an equip, a gear. Turn 2 we drop Lucian. We equip to it through the Weapon Master. And then starting turn 3, we can just push a battlefield with Lucian, conquer, ready it, and move back to base. And doing so, we want to proc a lot of stuff. We want to proc Suncon to draw cards. We want to proc Bone Shiver, 2 Ramp Runes. And we want to try and make a lot of value out of this Lucian while scoring points. We also can abuse the ganking battlefield sometimes. Let's say we have a GA or we have something to ready the cards. We can just like have Lucian ready in base, push in the ganking, ready itself, push in the other one, and then we find a way to ready it with like the first mate, and then we bring it back to base, and we can do this over and over again. So basically Mosquito Lucian gameplay once again. Lucian turns out to be a pretty good unit for orange when you want to play gears in set 2. Then we have First Mate. You guys know about First Mate. I don't really need to explain when we play Discord. It's pretty cracked. And then the card that I wanted to play, and I has not seen play in Jax so far, which I feel like is weird because I think Jax is probably the deck that's more suited to run it, is Yone. So Yone is, let me just pull up Yone. Yone is a 5 energy for and a power unit that has 5 might. Weapon Master 2, so you kind of mitigate that power that you pay because you don't pay the power to equip a gear. And since Yone is pretty much a mid to late game unit, you will definitely have gears lying around to pick up, either from your base or your other units. And then Yone reads, when I conquer an open battlefield, deal damage equal to my might to an enemy unit in base. And this is sort of the carry in the late game for the deck, because you want to use and abuse it to equip stuff to it, like Bone Shiver, whatever, and then you want it to enter ready because of either Confront or First Mate. I was thinking about playing War Up at some point, but then we were kind of missing spots in the deck, so I had to cut some cards and War Up on one of these. But you could play War Up if you want to. And the idea is that I play Confront, I just tap 2 runes to draw 1, worst case scenario. Base case scenario, we're in the mid game. I have like 7, 8, 9 runes. I play Confront. I play Yone ready. Weapon Master, equip something to it. Conquer battlefield, use Yone's ability. Then he has something like 6, 7, 8 might because of the equip. Kill something in base. And that makes for such a big tempo swing that this card alone can carry games. The problem is if your opponent is playing around it, it can become troublesome. But most of the time, nobody's playing around it because this card is not seeing play so far. Whereas in this list, I feel like it makes a lot of sense. And then you have a lot of tools to protect it too. We have the Guardian Angel, of course. We have the Defies, the Punch First. Like, let's say we have 8 runes. Something like, 8 runes turn 5. Let's say we pay 2 power in the game, so we are on 8 runes turn 5. You just go Confront. Then you go Yone, equip something like whatever, Guardian Angel, Doran's Blade. So it's like 6, 7 might. You push a battlefield, you kill something in base. And then, let's say they still have something in base next turn to push. So they add 2 units in base. If you have the 1 rune open for the Punch First, it's super hard to push into Yone because let's say it's 7 might because of the equip. And then with Punch First, it becomes 12 might. Even if they have something like Fox to answer it, Yone is 7, it goes back to 4. If you use Punch First, it's 9, it beats Fox by 2. So like, it's very hard for them to be able to deal with Yone if you have runes open. And so it's sort of the clutch card for some matchups. And it's proven to be fairly decent. The thing that would be super cracked is if we had an equip that's like super expensive when played, but reads something like when I'm equipped, ready me or something like that. And then we would have a pretty cool interaction with Yoni and probably a better deck. But unfortunately, sorry, we don't have that. So that's about it for the lineup of units. Yoni being the most unexpected / important part of it all, in my opinion. And then we just have Toolbox. I talked about Confront already. It's not only good with Yoni, it's also good with Lucian, because you can instantly trigger that idea of like, I equip, I conquer, I restand, I go back to base. So this accelerates Lucian a lot. And it's also decent with Jax because he has the Weapon Master, so he can come in at like 5 might, even more with the Brutalizer, and take a trade. It's like decent overall. Also, it's a bit of draw power. And weirdly enough, this deck does not struggle too much with draw power because we have, through the battlefields and the cards that we play, we had a lot of options to draw cheap cards. Like this is draw one, this draws one, this draws one, and this also draws one. So we have a lot of like utility cards that also draw, and of course the champion draws. And so we don't really need to run a like big draw power toolbox compared to other decks. Then toolbox wise, we also have the discipline, +2, and draw 1 is just too good not to play, I feel like. Also, if your opponent is on Dreaming Tree, which some of them decks are, you're just making a lot of value of discipline for no reason. So yeah, I love it. And also, Counter-Strike is kind of the same. It's probably even better. Counter-Strike, let's read. Maybe you don't know about that one because it's a new card from set 2. Counter-Strike is the signature spell for Jax, which is 2 energy and a power for a reaction spell that reads, choose a unit. The next time that unit will be dealt damage this turn, prevent it, and draw 1. And so this allows you to save your units from spells or your Yonis from trades and stuff. So this is a pretty cool card to have in the list. And the draw 1 part makes it so that you just take free trades and then you just draw cards, so it replaces itself, it has a lot of value, and you're very fine with the power. So that card is really good. It's probably the only very super good cards in Jax with Brutalizer and maybe Yoni. So you definitely have to run 3 Counter-Strikes. Challenge is also a pretty good way to remove units in base. You obviously prefer Yoni because if you have Yoni, it means not only you were able to set up Yoni, but most likely you were able to score a point and then trade someone in base, which is like pretty good, right? But sometimes challenge helps you deal with menace, such as like Lucian. When you're paired into Lucian and they do the mosquito strategy, it's very hard for you to catch that Lucian. We don't have the charms, we don't have like the damage spells. So challenge is a way to deal with them, like bothersome cards in a way. And I feel like that's about it for the main deck. We've talked about every single card. Punch First. Don't think I talked about Punch First and Defy, but you guys get me. Punch First and Defy are just super good toolbox for green and orange in the upcoming format. Combined, these are pretty expensive, but most likely in this deck, the only thing you're going to pay for is your toolbox. So aside from like Yoni paying a power and the champion paying a power, which is a bit bothersome, all the rest of your deck is like basically power free. Lucian is power free. Your equips, you're not going to pay power to equip them. First mate power free. Bone Shiver, ramps runes. So you can kinda make up for this power cost and be fine with it. Sometimes it's going to get tough if you draw a lot of them cards and not a lot of ways to ramp / play units. But if you get to them, it's fine. A couple of cards I would like to know your thoughts on. Yeah, I'm going to talk about all these, Mike. Don't worry. Let's just close this with the battlefields and the sideboard, and then we're going to talk about the cards I decided not to play. But definitely, there are a lot that we could talk about, because this deck, being so not resolved, also makes it so that we can run a lot of different cards in there. Game 1, I'm playing the Sankom battlefield. Once again, this deck is a Lucian and this, so the idea is that we equip Lucian with something that gives it +2, be it Brutalizer that was just equipped, or Doran's Blade that is +2, or even Discipline, and then or Bone Shiver, and then we just have Lucian go into Sunken, tap an energy to draw 1, then Lucian restands, then we push Lucian back to base, and next turn we can attack into Sunken again and do the same stuff all over. Basically, that's the idea. the better is Bone Shiver, because then you can have Lucian, Weapon Master, the Bone Shiver, and then you can push Lucian in the Sunken. Tap 1, draw 1, ramp 1 with the Bone Shiver, restand Lucian, push Lucian back to base, and next turn you can do the same again. So like, this combination is pretty good. I need to get something to drink when we're done with Jax. Then going first, I'm playing the Own Forge, which is when you control these battlefields, your next equip this turn costs 1 energy less. So you can pay 1 energy Brutalizer, you can pay 1 energy Gordon Angel, you can pay 1 energy Duran Blade, you can pay 2 energy Bone Shiver. This is pretty good. This helps you value a lot of your units. And also it's not too big of a commit. Like, going first, you're most likely going to be playing an equip. So if your opponent plays a body, they're going to have Prio on Conquering. And giving them Own Forge is not too bad. Like, let's say they want to conquer and then they drop a 1 energy Zonia or something. It's like not good, but it's not as bad as if like they get into the Grove and then they hide the cord and then that game is like over. You just lose it, right? So this was a pretty good going first battlefield for what the deck wants to do, in my opinion. And then going second, we played the Windswept, obviously. This gives, like, this makes for cool plays with Yoni. This makes for cool plays with Lucian. This makes for decent play with Jax. Basically, everything that has a few equips on it is pretty hard to deal with because it's pretty mighty. And then through the ganking, it can deal a lot of damage. So I really like the Windswept going second. I feel like this is definitely a battlefield that you want to play in that deck. And then sideboard-wise, Windrunner was in the considerations for the main deck. The only reason I decided not to play Windrunner was because I felt like this deck has a good enough matchup into removal decks so that we don't need Windrunner game 1 because we have the Counter-Strike to prevent damage, we have the Discipline to buff over it, we have the Defy to try and deal with the small removals, we have the Gordon Angel, and then we also have the equips that are going to make our units bigger. So it felt like this deck had a decent matchup into removal. The thing is, if they eye roll you enough, like if they hit several Falling Stars or whatever in the early game, it can be kind of tough. So having access to Windrunner still felt like a need, but at some point it was in the main deck considerations. It got sideboarded in the end, but you could want to run 2 Windrunners in the main deck. I would not be like too surprised if that's the case. Thronk, kind of the same thing. Thronk is a card that was in the main deck considerations, but there's already very few units in this deck and not many not many toolbox that we want to cut. So I decided to cut on the Thronk and put it to the sideboards. The idea with Thronk is that when you're going first, this card is like super good, and it also helps you deal with the bigger units that could potentially contest your geared units in the mid game or late game. Like, let's say you have a Yoni with 2 equips. If they want to deal with it might-wise, they're going to have to send something big, and then you can just swung them away and they wasted a complete turn. Like, let's say they use something like White Flame, Dead Bloom plus a buff, something. You just go swonk, and then like you win that combat. But then going second, it's not as good. So I decided to sideboard Thwonk for going first. And then I'm only on 2 Unyielding. It could probably be 2 other cards, because once again, I feel like this deck has a pretty decent time into removal. But then, yeah, you kind of have to play Unyielding too if you're playing orange. So this could be something else. Definitely still helps into removal and into decks like Ezreal, Kaisa. I don't even like dealing with Singularity sometimes feels pretty good. I don't hate it. Also, this, if the top cup ends up being like open list or something and you want to play the top cup with Jax, which I don't believe is possible, but like let's say it's your goal, I think you have to run the Unyieldings, because then if they see you don't have Unyieldings anywhere in your list, they're just going to slam removal at you, and you're going, like, you can't force them to play around it. Whereas if you have Unyielding and you have like 1-2 runes open and they want to play something like Singularity, Icatian Rain stuff, it's a pretty big commit. So yeah, I would say this is going to be typical sideboard for, or at least maybe even main deck for the throne, but like typical sideboard toolbox for green orange in set 2. And this could be main deckable, but I feel like you don't really need it in Jax, whereas some other decks would probably need it. And that's about it for the deck theory. Yes, I did talk about battlefields. Ruse is just a 6-6 split, so not much to talk about there. Now let's talk about the cards that I opted not to play. And let's answer Mike's questions. Green Jax, let's just show you Green Jax. Maybe you guys don't know about Green Jax. Oh, this is the alt one. This is the normal one. Green Jax is a 5 energy, 5 might unit that costs a power to play, and that has deflect and reads each equipment in your hand as quick draw. So basically every equipment in your hand becomes a reaction. As you could see with the list and like the overall theory, we need equips to be on board before we play our units and not the other way around. So we can definitely play like some equips in the late game, provided that we have some of them in the early and then we draw into other equips. But then this means that the part of like playing equips went well, then the part of playing units and equipping to it went well, and they did not die, because if they straight up die, we just can't do a lot. Because yeah, we can equip with quick draw, but we don't have units to do so. And then we have to play the Jax, and then next turn potentially it becomes valuable because the Jax is pretty expensive, so we don't have the runes to slam equips the turn we play it. And if we have the runes, I'd rather play something like Yoni. And also, my big problem with this Jax, I feel like this should have been another chords text, because the biggest thing with quick draw is that you don't have to pay the power to equip. You just pay the power to play chords, or equips rather, to put them in play, but you don't pay the power to equip. But this deck already does not pay the power to equip. So it kind of feels like it's the same as the Legend, probably a bit better, but I'd rather have access to draw power than to something I can kind of already do. Also, they can't really attack into us recklessly anyway because we have Discipline and Punch first. So if they decide to attack into us and suicide into some quick draw equips, they would probably have not attacked if they played around Punch first or Discipline anyway. So yeah, I don't feel like this Jax is too good. Maybe in the early days it can surprise people, but I feel like drawing is most likely always going to be better in this deck than giving quick draw to your equips. I could be wrong though, but I don't think so. And then other cards, Not So Fast, Emperor's Divide, X-Rinker, Windwall, Sterax Gauge, Primal Strength, Action. Couple cards, huh? Couple cards. Okay, so Not So Fast is, you can counter an ability that targets, Not So Fast, that targets one of your units or gears. Enemy spell or ability. This is a good card. I just did not find the room to fit it. You could play it over Defy if you're afraid of losing into targeted gear removal. You could also play Windwall in the sideboards. It just felt like this deck never has the runes to play equips plus units plus keep runes open for Windwall to deal with Thermo Beam, at least when Thermo Beam becomes playable. Because like in the late game you're going to have enough runes, but Thermo Beam has already been played and has already destroyed your gears. So I don't see a way we could value Windwall. Not So Fast is some sort of an in-between solution that does not deal with Thermo Beam. So not sure, but it's not a trash card. You just have to find a way to cut some of the toolbox to make room for it. But it's not a card that I hate. I run it in my own builds. Emperor's Divide. So this is Flash, but for green, if I'm not mistaken. Emperor's. Yup. Move any number of friendly units at a battlefield to their base. I don't like that card. The only thing with that card is that since I'm playing Lucian Turbo, it kind of felt like my units were already going to be in base, and then Yoni, when it's conquered once and scored the point and dealt with something in base, it's already it already did its job. And if they want to trade it, I probably have once again some runes open for the Punch first / Discipline. So I don't hate it. I just feel like if they play around what I could potentially have, they can't really attack into my units mid game in the mid game anyway. So I'd probably rather not play it and play something else. Also, we have Counter Strike that kinda protects our units from dying. So yeah, I don't hate it. I feel like in some decks it could be pretty good. I think Jax has other ways to pressure the opponent, especially due to being able to play punch first. They can't really like straight up attack you if you have 1 or 2 runes open, because they could just get instantly blown away by like plus 10 might of 2 punch firsts or something like that. Then X Drinker. So X Drinker is plus 1 deflect. Don't hate it. I just feel like the plus 2 might gear, like Brutalizer in this deck moving around is cracked. Plus 3 every turn is like super good. If you stack multiple Brutalizers, it comes to a point in which like it's pretty annoying for your opponent to deal with like plus 6 every turn. And then what was it about? Which one was it? Yeah, X Drinker, yeah. And then Doran's Blades and which one? And Bone Shiver felt better because they give plus 2. And so they make Lucian Mighty and Jax Mighty to play in the Sencon tempo. And also Bone Shiver makes up for some of the power cost in the mid game. So if we had to cut a gear then might-wise, it would probably be like the only protective gear, quote unquote, in this list that is the same as X Drinker, because X Drinker is definitely protective because like it's deflect. So it forces your opponent to deal with your unit in weird ways. Would be Angel, and I believe Angel is better than Drinker. If Drinker becomes better than Angel in the format because the better deck is like Kaisa and she plays 3 reigns in the main, then yeah, we could probably see playing Drinkers over Angel. But so far, I feel like Angel is the better option in that protective gear spot. Windwall once again. I talked about it already without realizing, but yeah, you could play Windwall in the side, definitely. In the main, I don't see a word in which you can fit it. Once again, unfortunately, this deck is not like super giga good. It's close to the best version I could brew with the deck, but it's probably not like giga good. So my take would be that if you're playing a not super good deck, you have to accept that you'll be losing into some strategies, Thermobeam being one of them. You could try to include Windwall and play around this, but like let's say you're playing into Draven that has Thermobeams, there's no way you can make sure you don't spend enough runes to have a Windwall open every turn, because then you're just going to lose to the early game aggressiveness of Draven. So I feel like this is an unsolvable problem for the deck, and playing Windwall would just be like, yeah, I have an answer to Thermobeam. And then you're like, but Draven goes giga fast, I have to play every turn, I have to tap all of my energy to try to fight with it. And then if you do that, you can't use Windwall, so nah. I wanted to try and look into a Sona plus spells plus Windwall list at first, but then you don't have the room to fit units plus spells plus gears in your deck. You have to make a choice, and in this situation, I choose gears over spells. Sterak, once again, Sterak, I could see it, but I'd rather play power-free, gears that don't cost power, than Sterak, which is 2 powers and we don't have a reduction in this deck. Still, we have a way to move it around and not pay the energy cost, the power cost once it's on the board, but we still have to pay the 2 power, and there's not much we can do about that. And I really don't want to pay 2 power in this deck. I'd rather have like worth gears, quote unquote, if we could say so, because like Brutalizer is plus 3 every turn when you move it around, so it's not even like very worse. It's almost as good. It just does not have the quick draw ports. But aside from that, I feel like other equips are just better. I would even probably play X Drinker over potentially Sterak. Then Primo, could see Primo in the sideboards to help deal with like big bodies matchups. I don't hate it, but I feel like Punch First plus a lot of equips could be enough most of the time. If we had the room to do so, I would definitely play a Primo in there or 2, but we don't really have the room to do so. Akshan, though, I love. I really love Akshan. I really think it's a super good card. I did not find the room to fit it, but it has the Weapon Master. So if you're telling me you're cutting like on 2 disciplines to bring in the third first mate and then two actions, or like you're completely cutting away the disciplines to bring in the third first mate and like two actions, I would not be completely flabbergasted. Like, I love action. I just think it's a pretty good all-around chord with the weapon master thingy that can put in a lot of work and steal the GS and stuff. You could definitely play action in this list. It just felt a bit poor hungry. But once again, yeah, you could definitely play action. It's a very good chord in this list too. You could see it in the sideboard too on top of Ring Runner. The good thing with Jax is it has a lot of options, deck building wise. The big problem with Jax is all of them options are not strong enough to make it a competent deck, which is the problem. It's like, yeah, I could do that, and I could do that, and I could also do that, and I could do that. And then when you look into what it does in the end, you're like, okay, I have 15 toolbox chords in the main, and I have like 8 units, 8 gears, and my deck does not do shit because nothing comes together. So yeah, I don't see Jax being super good, unfortunately. It's a fun deck. Probably the better version of it is the Aurora list. But it's not because like this works well with Jax. It's just because when an orange deck is not good enough, we're probably talking about Aurora. So many options with this champion. We will see what happens at Bologna for the best of. Most likely it's going to be an Aurora deck. I would be very surprised if the best of Jax is not an Aurora deck in Bologna. But we'll see. Maybe someone figures out a secret tech piece and then stomps the tourney with Jax. Just give me a second. We're going to talk about Sivir. Sivir. What's the name of Sivir? Let me see. Let me check. Sivir. Battle Mistress. Sivir Battle Mistress. Mistress. Set to list. Let me just grab a quick, like a glass of water, and I'll be back to talk about my Sivir list, which is probably the better deck of the night. To be fair, I'm pretty excited about playing Sivir. Most likely we're playing Sivir once we're done with the list talk. Just give me a second. Is the music still... Oh, you guys can't hear the music though. Why? Why is that? Oh, it's because the music is starting. Yeah, okay, great. Let me just grab a quick sip of water. I'll be back. Alright. Alright. Let me just... Okay. You get to keep this if you want it. Come on. Get in there. It's fine. You can get in there. Okay. All good. We're back. Did you already speak about a Fiora deck? Yo, Drake. I really like the yellow-orange colors, but the draw is disgusting. I would like to know if you built something with this beauty and what you think about her. Yup. We do have a Fiora list. Let me just type the comment for you. Here we go. So, first link, you have the guide video about Fiora. I'm talking about my list, the philosophy behind it, the core choices and stuff. And then on the second link, which is the gameplay link, you have the local tourney that I did play with Fiora. You have the 4 rounds in there. I did go 4-0 undefeated playing Fiora. I really like the deck. And I really think Fiora could be some sort of a decent contender in Bologna if the meta shapes up to be purple decks on top. Because Fiora has a lot of good answers to purple decks. As in like Sabotage, Riposte, of course, Punch First, a lot of big bodies. Fiora is able to contest them bodies in the mid game, which a lot of decks aren't able to do. By the way, let me just make these decks public so I can share the links with you guys. So this is Renata deck, and we just talked about Genie with the Lamp Jacks. ED deck public. Great. Jacks deck. Here you go. If some of you want to give a try to the decks and like grab the list, get in a couple games with it and see how it feels, feel free to do so. You have the links in the chat. I'm going to pin them for 30 minutes while we're talking about Sivir. Make Sivir public so I can take a sneak peek. I can make Sivir public if you want to. Ray, just give me a second. Why aren't you working there? Power. Public, and the link. Here we go. Here you go, Ray. Gonna check that. Thanks. I hope I'll be able to win some battlefield. Yep. Good luck, my friend. Fiora is pretty cool. Let me just grab an image. And here we go. So this is my Sivir list. This was heavily inspired. This was inspired, let's say, by the guy that got first place at the Runes and Rift tourney. Because I kind of wanted one of the purple decks that I was going to be showcasing for set 2 to be some sort of a mill deck, quote unquote, a graveyard centric deck, trash centric deck, however you want to call it. But I did not manage to find the perfect candidate. Ezreal was one of them. I did want to try it in Ezreal at some point, but it kind of felt like it would be a waste not to play that much targeting. And it turns out Sivir is probably the better candidate for that type of list. So let me just clear my throat, and then we're going to talk about the legend, the champion, and stuff. Okay, all good. So let's start with the legend. Sivir is an orange-purple legend, so same colors as Misfortune, which becomes better in set 2. Misfortune I'm talking about. But Sivir is pretty good either. Mono-purple, kind of, right? Kind of. We have a few orange cores, but kind of mono-purple mill strategy. And Sivir reads, when you recycle a rune, you may exhaust me to play a gold gear token exhausted. And when one or more enemy units die, ready me. This is pretty low to the ground in what it does. Basically what this does is this allows you to play a lot of recycling heavy cards while still being able to have runes to play. Basically this is all that this does. But this is enough, weirdly enough, this is enough to make up for an interesting deck. For the champions, we have two options, but I'm going to talk about the one that I did pick. And I did pick the Mercenary Sivir, so the purple one, which is a 4 energy, and a power cord for 4 might. That has the Accelerate ability, and that reads, if you spend at least 2 power this turn, I have +2 might and ganking. And the idea is that we're going to want to use the golds, because the golds, when you kill them, generate power to trigger this. So we don't really pay 2 power each turn, we rather pay 1, but we're able to trigger this Sivir each and every turn. That's the idea behind these cards in the list. And so the list is a bit weird. If you just take a look at it, like, it could seem very like all over the place, if you will, but there's a big theme behind this, and it's abusing purple's ability to discard cards and cycle the deck and play these cards that we just discarded from the trash. And so I think I'll have to talk about the overall idea and then get in the card by card. We have a package. We've reached the point in which we have a package in purple that allows us to make sure our trash is basically a second hand. And so to set it up, we have a lot of tools, like to prepare it. We have the stack deck, allows us to dig in the deck to look for the cards that we want to see. We have the cold shot, exact same thing, but in the late game, cold shot is way better because it makes card advantage, whereas stack deck is just like, I play a card, I dig 3, I pick 1. So you don't make card advantage, right? You dig. You use a card to search for a card. Cold shot is different because when you repeat cold shot, you use 1 card to generate 2 cards in hands, which in the late game is better than stack deck, but in the early game, you kinda don't want to cold shot too often. So we play both to have the best of both worlds, basically. Then we have the scrap heap. When you discard these cards, draw 1. Then we have the merchant. When I move discard 1, draw 1. Then we have the zones, Warren, and the minefield. So Warren is when you conquer here, discard 1, draw 1. Minefield is when you conquer here, send the top 2 cards of your deck to the trash. We have the Azir too, which is when you play me, discard 1, draw 2. And then we have the quote-unquote reanimator part of the list in the last rites and the fizz. And I have to say, I was considering some sort of reanimator package in a deck, but I came to the conclusion that maybe this package was for Jinx or for some set 1 deck. And the Sivir list that came on top of the first, I believe, Runes and Rift event, I can show it, it's probably somewhere around here. Yeah, here, exactly. This list, I saw it and I was like, yeah, I'm dumb. Like, Sivir is the deck that needs to be the reanimator deck going around. Maybe MF can do the same, but like, yes, it works perfectly fine in Sivir. So basically the idea, once again, is that we dig the deck a lot, we find every single card that we're looking for, and then instead of playing them from the end, we cycle them from the trash. And that's why you will see a lot of like weird, wacky one-offs or two-offs in this list, because these are cards that if we don't like them, we're going to be able to discard them from the end to make to create other cards. And if we want them at a specific point, we can just play them with Fizz. We can just play them with the rights, and we can just get value out of it. So yeah, I really like that concept, and I feel like this is something completely new in the Riftbound world that is probably going to see success because it's not too bad. Like, it's kind of consistent, and also graveyard interactions are very protected so far. There's not a lot of cards that deal with the trash, and so everything that you have in the trash is sometimes even safer than if you add it in your end, because they can't get sabotaged away. They can't get like what's the name of the card? Mind Splittered away. Like, they don't really have a way to deal with cards in your trash, whereas sometimes cards in your end, they can just take a look at your end and get rid of it. And so I really do like this strategy. I think it has a lot of potential. Now, let's talk about the usual stuff, the card by card, if you will, of the deck. So I'm playing a lineup of 8 turn 1s, 3 Traveling Merchants, and 3 Treasure Hunters, which are the ones that we want to see in the very early game. Treasure Hunter when I move play a Gold Gear, Traveling Merchant when I move discard 1, draw 1. Both of these cards end up being pretty good when you can use them once, and if you use them several times, they're just like completely cracked. So your opponent kind of has to deal with them. Both are pretty good. And then as a third turn 1, I'm playing the Overzealous Fan. And so the idea with this Overzealous Fan is that not only is it a turn 1 that we could play as vanilla to have some board presence and be able to conquer, but also this Overzealous is a card that we could really want to play with the rights, or to replay rather with the rights, because Zealous is when I defend, you may kill me to send a unit attacking here back to base. And so what this does is like, you play Zealous on the battlefield you hold, let's say with the purple Sivir, And then you play Zealous, they attack into Sivir, you kill Zealous, you send their unit back to base, you hold, you trigger rights, you replay Zealous there. And it's basically an infinite loop of like sending them back to base, which is kind of funny. And I feel like this has potential, even though it's not the main rights target. This definitely has potential, and definitely something that we could see, I believe, come up in games. At least did come up for me. Then in the mid games lineup, we have the Fizz and the Ezreal, which are two of the most important cards of the deck. And I'm just going to talk about Rasha before, so we're done with this and we can focus on the interactions of Fizz and Ezreal in this deck. Rasha is just costing 1 energy less for each card in your trash. So as you've seen, we are discarding a lot, which makes it so that Rasha most of the time is like close to free, if not free. And so being able to have those Rasha that come up for free was pretty good in the top end scenario. Potentially you want to play 3 of these, and it would not be too bad. The only thing is that I really wanted to have some cards as 3-offs. Like Punch First, did not want it to be a 2-off. Cold Shot, I did not want it to be a 2-off. I did not want to go down to 1 of Rebuke. So I had to make decisions, but you could definitely play a 3rd Rasha in there and it would not feel too bad. And then Fizz and Ezreal are the key pieces of your deck. Ezreal, when you play me discard 1, draw 2, allows you to discard the Scrap Pips, allows you to discard the wacky one-offs, the one-off Ride the Wind if it's not good in this scenario, the one-off On the Hunt because it's too expensive in this scenario, and then you just draw cards to make up for the bad cards that you just discarded. And also the second effect of Ezreal is optional additional costs cost you 1 energy or 1 power less. And so in this deck, it combines perfectly with these 2 cards. Cold Shot, you only pay 1 power to resolve twice. So you can just pay a power of the gold token and then pay the second power with Ezreal's ability, and you have a double Cold Shot for free. And Sivir, you can pay the accelerate energy with the Ezreal ability or the accelerate power, depending on if you were able to pay. Like, let's say you want to play Sabotage Sivir, you could be like, okay, but then accelerating it makes it 3 powers a turn, which is too much. You could just have Ezreal on board, and then you play Sabotage using the gold gear token that you have from the previous turn, and then you can just play Sivir, pay an actual power, pay the energy cost with Ezreal, and or pay 5 energy, sorry, and then pay the second power cost of the accelerate with Ezreal, and then we're just paying 1 power to have an accelerated Sivir and a Sabotage because we had a gold gear. So basically, this deck functions as Ezreal when it cycles your end and then makes for cheaper plays, and Fizz, on the other end, is the Reanimator for spells. Allows you to value a lot of cards in the deck. Fizz values Rebuke. These are the cards that you can play of Fizz. So Fizz, maybe you guys don't know Fizz. Fizz is, when you play me, you can play a spell that has an energy cost of 3 or less from your trash, and then you recycle it. So you can use Fizz to play Rebuke, you can use Fizz to play your one-off Ride the Wind, you can use Fizz to play your Fight or Flight, Fizz can also play the stack deck, Fizz can also play the Cold Shot, can also play the Punch First, can also play the Sabotage, and can also play the On the Hunt. So as you can see, there are a lot of targets for Fizz in this list, and the thing that feels pretty good with Fizz is that not only can you abuse Fizz to replay spells several times, but you can also abuse Last Rites to replay Fizz several times, then replay spells several times. So as you can see, we are in a scenario in which we are basically infinitely looping the trash, milling the deck to the trash, and then putting the trash at the bottom of the deck to loop again and again and again. That's the idea behind that list, and I really do love it. Like, it's super fun to play. So this is the units lineup. I would probably also, I wanted to run 1 Main Splitter in the main, but I was on 1 Rasha and 1 Mind Splitter at some points, one of these, and it kind of felt like it was not good enough, math-wise, to see them often, and I wanted more Rashas, so I decided to play 2 Rashas, so that way I can just loop them and have Mind Splitter in the sideboards for matchups in which I would target like specific interactions. As in, if my board crumbles into Cassin Rain, I'm bringing in my Splitter in that matchup. But main deck wise, I had to make space, and Mind Splitter was one of the cards that got cut for it. Would you consider cutting one scrap heap? Probably not. I just love it. Like, the consistency of this list is out of this world. You could cut one, but I just love it too much. I just feel like the consistency is like crazy. So that's about it for the unit sports. Then for the toolbox sports, I feel like Cold Shot stack deck, I talked about them already. Punch First is just too good not to play in this format. Also, it's kind of like Fiora, as in you're going to pay one of the powers of Punch First with a gold token, so you don't really completely deramp when playing Punch First, which makes it probably a bit better than in other orange decks aside from Fiora. On the Hunt, I wanted to have one on the Hunt because it makes it so that Fizz, when you have On the Hunt in the trash, can just ready all of your units, which felt super good. So I think if you run 3 Fizzes, you really have to run that mono On the Hunt. When you see it, you just discard it to create another card through one of your abilities, be it Warrens, Merchant, or Hip, or whatever. And then in the mid to late game, having access to restanding all of your units, especially the Sivir champion that can have ganking, can very well close the game. So I really like this idea of having one On the Hunt and just never playing it from the end and only playing this from the trash with the Fizz. Then Sabotage is just too good in the format not to play, in my opinion. I also wanted to run a third one, but I decided that just having 2 in the deck was enough to see one, and then if I need to play another one, I can just play it through Fizz. But if I had more room in the deck, I would definitely play a third Sabotage to check the opponents and get rid of the gears, get rid of the potential blowout spells, the rebukes, stuff like that, fight or flight. Like, this deck is pretty much battle heavy, so you have to be able to get rid of the purple blowouts, even though you play them yourself. If you're into something like Draven, you have to get rid of the purple problem cards, and Sabotage helps in that sense. Ride is just a pretty good Fizz target too, so I decided to run one off. Just allows you to have some stuff going on with Fizz, as in like play Fizz, use Ride on itself, move it to a battlefield scored and bring it back to base, or you can just abuse it on the Sivir and stuff. So Ride is just a pretty good Fizz target. Fight or Flight Rebuke, I feel like I don't really need to talk about those. And then Last Rites is Fizz is the reanimator for spells, and then Last Rites is the reanimator for units. Which reads, did I showcase it? I don't believe I did. Let me just showcase Last Rites. Here we go. So Last Rites is a 3 energy equip, so you have to pay a power and recycle 2 cards from your trash to equip it. And Last Rites reads, when I conquer or hold, you may play a unit from your trash. And so the idea with this is that you're going to recycle a bit from your trash, true, but then you're just going to use it to replay cards like Ezreal, discard 1, draw 2. So you basically did not recycle anything from the trash because you just filling it again. You're going to be using it to play Fizz, and then Fizz is going to use its ability to replay a spell from the trash. So this just gets a ton of value over the course of the game, and also this combines super well with this Sivir that has the ganking ability. Because then you can do stuff like play Sivir, accelerate it, equip the rights, push Sivir in the BF, conquer, use rights effect to replay Fizz, use Fizz ability to replay On the Hunt, ready Sivir, conquer the other battlefield, use rights because you conquer to play something else, and this just makes for infinite loops of value. So I really love this deck's idea. I think this could end up being the way Sivir sees play competitively. It feels like super good. It feels like super giga good. I'm not sure it's going to be like tier 1 or stuff, but playing it just feels like you have an endless world of possibilities, and you can just like find all of your cards when you need them, because you cycle so much that you're basically never relying on I have to draw my card. You just have it in the trash, basically. Need to play this on Arena later if you have time. I love this concept. Yeah, I'm probably playing it on Arena later on, so we can showcase the gameplay. But this is a pretty tough deck to pilot. I don't think I'm like super good at it, but I really love it. Like every time I play it, I'm like, okay, this feels giga good, right? And this also feels like all of it like works together, right? Everything makes sense. Every chord buff the other chords in there, and so like all of this is pretty good. Battlefields wise, battlefields are just going to combine with this strategy basically. Game one we played the Warren, so this is whatever going first, going second. Just the game one battlefield is going to be Warren. Allows us to cycle the chords, to put the bad chords in the trash, the on the ons, the ride the winds and stuff. Just drop them in the trash. And also to discard the scraps heaps to dig further into the deck and make value. And then going first, we play... The battlefields are pretty flexible actually. But going first, I tend to play the Emperor's Days. And going second, I tend to play the Minefields. So both of them are when you conquer battlefields. Minefield is when you conquer here, mill, like send the top two cards of your deck to the trash. So allows you to fill the trash for the rides, for the fizzes and stuff. The heaps, like you really want to have a lot of cards in your trash to be able to see them one-offs. And Days, on the other end, is more of a bounce card. This one I think we've never played, so I'm just going to show it. Emperor's Days. When you conquer here, you may pay an energy and return a unit you control here to its owner end. And if you do, play a 2 Might Send Soldier unit token here. And so we can use this to bounce Fizz and to bounce Ezreal to hand, or even to bounce this purple Sivir. And so that way we can just like Ezreal in base, discard 1, draw 2. Next turn, Ezreal withstands. I send it to the BF, conquer, pay an energy, bounce it back to end, play a Sand Soldier, and then replay Ezreal in base and like discard 1, draw 2 again, and just make a lot of value over that Ezreal. Same for Fizz, and you can just conquer in there with Fizz, and then bounce it, replay a spell. It just feels pretty good. This is probably the worst of the three because it does not fill the trash, but it's still pretty good. And that lineup feels like super unique. Like it feels like you're pretty much the only deck. Maybe Rumble could have a bit of a good time with like Minefield and stuff, but you're pretty much the only deck that's able to abuse these cards completely compared to other decks. Like these are giga cracked for you and pseudo vanillas for your opponents. And then sideboard wise, this deck has a lot of 3 might or less units, which means Falling Star is a problem, so we have to run the Unyielding. And then depending on matchups, we run the 3 offs of the toolbox we're playing. So we run the third Sabotage for certain matchups, we run the third Rebuke for other matchups. And then I also decided to run a mono Primal Strength for big bodies matchups to have another Punch First in there. I wanted to run 2, but I also did not want to cut on Mind Splitter. So I'm only running 1 Primal Strength, but it's another target for Fizz. Not for Fizz, sorry, for bodies to be able to deal with your opponent's bigger units in the late game. Because we have 3 Punch Firsts, but then if you're playing into someone that plays Dead Bloom, that kind of stuff, it could be kind of tough to deal with them if you don't see the purple spells, or you don't want to use them right away. So Primal Strength is a good way to deal with them, basically. And then I'm playing 2 Splitters. As I mentioned, there are some matchups that have big blowout cards that you have to get rid of before they hit the board. I'm thinking Aura, I'm thinking Icathian Rain, all that good stuff. Sabotage is a good way to do so, but Mind Splitter is a pretty good way to do so too, and also works with Last Rites, even though it never happened. Like, in theory, it works with Last Rites, but I think in real games, if you're managing to bring out a Mind Splitter of the Last Rites, it probably means you just won the game straight up. So, because you were able to hold and then bring out the Mind Splitter and then look at the hand, so you were probably winning that game already. But Splitter is not like giga bad. You could also run a one-off in the main deck to work with the rights, but then you would have to find a room in the deck, which I was not able to, which is why I did cut it. I was running one in the main board at first. So that's about it for this list series, and we're probably going to be trying it on TCG Arena later on. But this list really feels like a breath of fresh air, completely different list from what we've seen so far. and feels pretty good too. Probably because we're playing a lot of good cards, right? Fizz is super good, Ezreal is super good, Rebuke is super good, Fight or Flight is super good. Like, we have a lot of super good cards in that deck. Punch First is super good, Cold Shot, Stack Deck. We have a lot of options, but I feel like this could very well be a A tier, top B tier / bottom A tier deck, in my opinion. Thank you for the follow, Zach. Welcome home, brother. Hope you're doing great. And Merry Christmas, whatever, and happy 2026 here. Let me just grab a sip. Yeah, we could talk about a bit of them cards. I decided not to play Hard Bargain. I just ate that card. You guys know already. To be fair, I predicted this card would never see play, or like close to never see play, when everyone was saying this card is going to be a meta staple. So far, it's not seeing play, and I'm pretty confident it's going to stay that way. This card is just too expensive to be good, and if you're playing from behind, it's completely useless. Might as well discord the spells or get rid of them with the sabotages and the splitters than paying for energy to counter them. You can't do that in such a deck that relies a lot on tempo and like pressuring the board. So I'm probably never ever playing Hard Bargain. If you guys want to trade, feel free. I don't think it's a good option. And which one? Challenge? Yeah, we could want to play Challenge though. Yeah, we could definitely want to play a one-off Challenge. I do agree with that. Then it's once again about finding room in the main deck. But we could definitely want to play a one-off Challenge and then potentially have Fizz to abuse it. I could see that. I could definitely see that. You're right, Mike. Maybe we want to play one Challenge over... It would have to be over a Scrap Heap or a Cold Shot, most likely. But yeah, I don't hate it. Thank you for the follow, Moritori. Welcome on, brother. Hope you're doing great. Maybe a Foff? Could be over a Fight or Flight, yeah. But Fight or Flight is just too good. But could be over a Fight or Flight, yeah. You're right, Ray. Could be over a Fight or Flight. Definitely. So I just love that Sivir list. And it's so unique. I'm just going to share the link. It's so unique, like it feels super good. Sivir lists. Here you go. Let me just pin it there. 30 minutes. Perfect. And then let's talk about the last deck of the night. And then we still have time to jump on TCG Arena for a few, I guess maybe a best of 3 or a few games. Either we do a best of 3 or we do several best of 1s. We'll have to see. What about Switcheroo, since you're cycling very heavily? I don't like Switcheroo. Maybe personal preference. It can deal with itemized stuff like Watcher True. But it's also super expensive, and just as for our bargain, it's pretty bad when you're not in the lead. Because what it shines at doing is they have to attack into you, and then you just swap the might, and then you kill them. But if you're the one attacking, and you have to use Switcheroo to win that combat, and they have like a few runes open, you have to like get in there, use Switcheroo, pay 2 energy, 2 power, switch the might, and then like if they have anything, they just break you. So I feel like it's only very good when you can hide it. Which means it's only good when you're playing from ahead, which means I kinda don't want to play that cards. But it's personal preferences. I just don't like playing cards that don't feel as good when I'm playing from behind than when I'm in the lead, right? But you guys probably figured that already. From hearing me rambling on meta decks for a while now. It's just my point on every card that I feel like it's not so good when you're playing from behind. Let me just... Azir list for set 2. Let me just update the stream title. This is probably my best deck name in a while. Pretty proud of that one. So we'll have to talk about my Azir read before we get in depth with the builds. I was expecting Azir to be a decent like early game deck because of the equips and the weapon master soldiers and stuff, like the Sand soldiers, and then to be able to run a lot of the mid-game, late-game tools that green has in the stuns and also yellow has them. and then be some sort of a better version of Leona that would be better into removal spells. The problem is that with this new spell, it kind of turns out that green falls off a bit, especially because green is not able to deal with equips. And so before, the only way to have battle tricks sort of were spells. So green had a pretty good spot with the defies and stuff. And now you can't really do that with gears. And so green is not as good as it used to be. And yellow is definitely the worst color in set 2. Like out of the 6 that there are, yellow is definitely the worst one. Okay, guy wants to go out. So it really felt like playing some sort of tempo toolbox Azir was just not good enough. And you guys know I was pretty hyped about Azir, so I definitely did try to make this work. But it ended up not working, unfortunately. Which is why I decided to turn it into a Sand Soldiers deck, which feels better, to be fair. It's a bit gimmicky. It has problems. Thermal Beam is definitely a problem. Good news is this deck can kinda play Wind Wall, but it feels like this is the better way to play this deck, unfortunately, which, I mean, I'm fine with that. I don't hate it. I would have preferred for it to be a tempo deck that scales well into the late game, but yeah, it just does not feel that good playing it as a tempo list. 3 out of 4 decks today died to Thermo. I'm buying all 4 Thermo I see. Yeah, that's part of the problem of them Gears heavy deck. Azir can play Wind Wall though, so it's like they draw the Thermo, you have to draw the Wind Wall, basically. It's not impossible, but it feels bad, right? So this list, let's just go over, sorry, Cat is out, good. Let's just go over the legend and the champion, and then we're going to talk about the philosophy of the list. So Azir, here we go, is pretty simple. It gives your Sand Soldiers Weapon Master, and then you can pay an energy and tap it to play a 2 Might Sand Soldier if you've played an equipment this turn. If you've not played an equipment this turn, this legend is a vanilla, basically. It's not too bad, like value-wise it feels good. You paid energy to spawn a 2 Might unit. Value-wise it feels pretty good. The big problem with this is that we have to play a lot of equips, and so my idea at first was that we would play some equips for the early to mid game, and then late game would be bigger chords. But unfortunately, neither green nor yellow have good mid to late game chords to make up for that game plan. So Azir is kinda having to play a lot of equips and pray that like they don't get hit with Thermo Beam or they have Wind Wall to counter it. And then in the champion spot, we have 2 chords that we could play. Both of these we could play, definitely. But I decided to opt for the yellow one as it kind of fits the aggressive style of this deck better. So yellow Azir is a 4 energy, 4 might unit that has the accelerate keyword, and that reads, when I attack, you may move any number of your token units to this battlefield. And so basically what this means is that when you accelerate this Azir, and if you have, like, let's say you have tokens in base at the start of your turn, you have like 2 tokens in base from like the early game, you just push the leftmost battlefield with the 2 tokens, maybe one of them dies, one of them conquers, and then you just accelerate Azir, move to the other battlefield, and move the token with your champion, and so you have a bigger push, which has a lot of value because this deck is running the Doran Shield, which gives tank to the token. So make sure your Azir does not die, and you are able to like conquer once again and score 2 points. So this is pretty good to be aggressive, as you probably understood, and that's going to be the entire game plan of the deck. You want to be aggressive, you want to score them early points by using the might advantage that your legend ability generates, giving you 2 might Sand Soldiers for just 1 energy. And so our turn ones are straight up going to be equips, because we want to have them equips to be able to trigger the legend ability. At first I wanted to run even more equips than this, but unfortunately you also have to find room for the toolbox, which I ended up doing. And also there are other good chords that we want to play. And there are also several spells that do generate Sand Soldiers. So they are pseudo gears in a way. So the gears we are running as our turn ones, because as you've probably understood by now, we are not running units in this deck. If you look at the deck, the only unit in there that is not a Sand Soldier is Xin and Azir, of course, but we have to play a champion, right? Aside from that, we are only using Sand Soldiers to move around the board and pressure. So this is pretty much an aggressive style of like swarming the board, and we have to use this and like make enough advantage out of it so that even them like more control decks can't clear all of our Sand Soldiers, and then we just have a free way to the victory because we scored the points fast enough to get in there. So Xin is going to be the only unit. Let's just start with him. Maybe we have to read it though, because I don't think I've put it in another list so far. Xin or Xin Chao, I believe. Xin Zhao, if we were to speak Chinese, is a 3 energy 1 power unit that has 4 might and that has the tank keyword, and that reads I enter ready if you have 2 or more other units in your base. And so the idea with this card is that once again we're going to use it as a pseudo Azir champion. We're going to stack the Sand Soldiers in the base, and then if there ever comes a turn in which we have 2 Sand Soldiers in base, which is going to come up because you're going to see we have cards that do spawn 2 Sand Soldiers, we're just going to be able to play Xin, push a battlefield with the Sands, push another battlefield with Xin, maybe one of the Sand Soldier dies so it frees its equip, so we can attach it to Xin, then push with Xin, and so basically this is allowing us to be super aggressive in the mid game to try and deal with the opponent's board and score a lot of points. And a 3 energy and 1 power accelerate unit that has 4 might is giga effective value wise. So once again, it's this idea of like Azir is going to not pay too much to spawn big units, and or at least like quote unquote big because it's only big in the early game, but it's enough to value them. And that's about it for the units. Then, if we want to talk about equips, because equips in this deck are pseudo units, because we're going to be able to play a Sand Soldier, and we're going to be able to equip straight away the equip to the Sand Soldier. We have Eye of the Herald, which is pretty good in Azir actually, which reads, when I move, play a 1 might recruit unit token here. And so the idea is that you make a Sand Soldier, you equip it with the Eye, and then you move the Sand Soldier somewhere, you generate a token, you conquer, let's say, and then you play as your champion, you attack the other battlefield, you move the Sand Soldier, and so since you moved it, you make another token there. And so this is a pretty cool might generator, might cheater, in the early game. Once again, we're going to want to cheat some might here and there to make value out of it. So pretty good. Doran Shield, I already pseudo talked about it, but like it's just the tank keyword is so good. It's just a way to generate a Sand Soldier, so that's already pretty good. That a 3 might Sand Soldier that has tank for 2 energy, 1 for the Doran Shield and 1 for Azir's ability. And then we have the tank as a bonus that allows us to protect some of our units, protect the champion, and just make sure that we can just have the tank keyword going around, putting what's important to the strategy. Then we have the brutalizers. This is a bit worse than it is in Jax, because you can't really move them on top of other gears, whereas in Jax you can equip a gear through Weapon Master and then you can you can move the brutalizer around with Jax's ability. In Azir it's not the same because your Sand Soldiers have Weapon Master, but they enter tapped. And so if they equip the brutalizer, yes, they have +3 might this turn, but they are tapped, so they can't do anything. The thing is, we have a few cards that allow us to ready our Sand Soldiers the turn they are played, and so that's when Brutalizer comes up. Aside from that, it's more of a setup card for Xin Zhao and for Accelerate Azir that you're going to have to pay power to value, but it's still good enough and it's cheap, does not cost a power, so good way to spawn a Sand Soldier, good enough to be a 3-off in that deck at least. Golden Angel, I feel like I don't really need to talk about it. And then BF Swords is just a good core to have in that deck because for 4 energy, you have a gear that does not cost a power and gives +3 to one of your units. And so we are able to use the Sand Soldiers to have them, like, to get them pretty big, pretty fast, and to push in the battlefields with the BF. So we're also playing 3 BF Swords. The idea is to combine these codes with Arise, to combine this code with Gourds, and to combine these codes with Azir. So that way, not only do we have equips, so that when we play them, the turn we play them, we can spawn a Sand Soldier, but we also have a lot of them equips lying around in base, so that when we play codes like Arise and Gourds, we just have straight up equips to use to equip to the Sand Soldiers and make full value out of these codes. So we definitely want to have more equips on the board than we have Sand Soldiers, and then this gives us the flexibility of like either attaching several equips to the same unit or just spawning a lot of units and like splitting the equips all over the boards. What about Sacred Shears in that spot? I did try Shears. At first I thought Shears would be good. So Shears is, let me just show you Shears. Shears is 2 energy and a power. Give the unit to the unit it's equipped to Death Knell, draw 1. On paper it felt super good because then you can just like create a Sand Soldier, equip it with Open Master, push somewhere, die, draw, equip it to another soldier, push, die, draw. What was happening is that we have quite the power hungry toolbox in the early game if we have to use like the Hidden Blades, the Defies, the Xin, and we have to equip 1 or 2 of the gears manually because it comes up more than what I was expecting. And so if we do that, we kinda don't want to pay that extra power in the early game. So sometimes it's about like, if I have to play this and they force me to defy, that game is almost, it's not like over, but it feels super bad. So I wanted to have gears that don't cost a power, which is why I ended up cutting Shears, but it wasn't there for most of the testing actually. So that's about it for gears. We have 15 of them, and all of these feel super good. So I feel like this is probably the lineup I would be running regardless. Maybe Shears could find a spot in there, but I don't think I want to run more than 15. And I think these 15s are the best. Then let's talk about Sand Soldiers, and then we can talk about Toolbox. So Desert Call is one of the new cards of set 2 that spawns Sand Soldiers, and in this deck it has a lot of value. It reads, for 2 energy you can play a 2 might Sand Soldier unit, and it has repeat 2. So basically when you have gears, which is the problem of this deck, sometimes you have a lot of gears laying around in base, but you don't have that extra gear to draw, play it, and spawn another Sand Soldier. You can just use Desert Call for 4 energy, play potentially 2 like 4 or 5 might units. Let's say, where's the list? Here's this. Let's say you play a Sand Soldier and you equip it the BF, and then you play a Sand Soldier and you equip it the shield. Then from 4 energy of the Desert Call, you spawned a 3 might and a 5 might unit, which is pretty good. So Desert Call has a lot of value to value those leftover gears in the base. Gourds is kind of the same, but it has that power cost. So once again, I decided not to play 3 of these and to value Desert Call more. Gourds is, let me just show you Gourds. Gourds, here we go. Gourds is a 3 energy hidden spell that reads, play a 2 might Sand Soldier unit token and you may pay a yellow power to ready it. The fact that you can ready it feels pretty good, but that's already kind of what the signature does. So this just makes up for additional signatures, while also, once again, giving you a way to value them gears lying around in base. And you have that ability to accelerate, which at some point can be important to either close the game or to retake battlefields. Like they are full tapped, and a Sand Soldier plus a BF is enough to take over. You definitely want to pay that yellow power to accelerate that Sand Soldier. And then the last card, which I hate. Don't get me wrong, I hate that card, but in this build, it kind of makes sense. The last card is Arise. Arise is Azir's signature spell, which is 6 energy and a power, and that reads play a 2 Might Sand Soldier unit token for each equipment you control, and then you can ready 2 of the Sand Soldiers you just played. I ate it, and I said the only way this card was seeing play was if Azir ended up being a gear only deck, which would probably mean he's not good. And unfortunately, that's the situation we're in right now. Azir, in my opinion, has to be a gear only deck, and that puts him in a bad spot format wise. And so this card kinda makes sense in that list, but the fact that this deck has to play that card feels kinda bad, right? Like it kinda implies that your deck is just going to be an all-out aggro deck and that you don't have late game. Like this is your more expensive card, and it's just going to spawn like 4 Sand Soldiers, whatever. Already 2 of them. It's not like giga good, unfortunately, but it is what it is. And then toolbox wise, we're playing yellow and green, so we still have access to a decent toolbox. These ones I feel like I don't need to talk about. I talk about them like in every video or so. DeFi is just too good of a card not to play. Hidden Blades. In this deck, you can very well kill your own units to draw 2, so this is pretty valuable. Aside from that, it's just a pretty good removal spell. Discipline is just +2 draw 1. Not much to talk about, it's just too good. And we have a new one, or 2 new ones rather, in the lineup, in the Death Grip and the Emperor's Divide. So Death Grip, maybe we can read both of them, because maybe you guys don't know about them. Death Grip is a new reaction spell that reads for 2 energy and no power as a reaction. You can kill a friendly unit to give it plus might equal to the might of the unit you killed. Sorry, you can kill a friendly unit to give its might to another unit this turn and then draw a card. So it cycles itself, which is already pretty good. And then you can kill something like a Sand Soldier equipped with like a BF or a Brutalizer that you just equipped to give a billion might to another Sand Soldier, to the Azir champion and stuff. And this is your way of dealing with bigger creators, bigger units. And also it's pretty good to surprise your opponent, as in like you have a Sand Soldier in base that's equipped with something pretty big, and then you just like kill it to give its might to someone with the Death Grip. This just feels like overall good. So I like this card. In testing it came up, and the fact that you can spawn so many Sand Soldiers anyway makes it so that you don't mind paying too much with the Death Grip. And then the last card that I'm playing as a toolbox, and you were talking about it for, I believe, Jax, Mike, is the Emperor's Divide, which is a 2 energy hidden action spell that reads move any number of friendly units at a battlefield to their base. This allows you not only to protect your Sand Soldiers and your Xin Xiao, but also your Azir, so that way next turn you can go for the same combo over again, which is like push the tokens, then push the Azir, then all the tokens move with him, you spawn stuff on the way, and when you play this, everything goes back to base, and next turn we can just do the same. We can just push with the tokens and move with Azir. And that's the overall plan. This card feels good. It's literally flash, but without the reaction port, which kind of makes it a bit worse, because then you can't really deal with like action speed spells that deal damage in the battlefield, which sometimes you have to be careful about because your Sand Soldiers are not always super big, and you don't want to lose something like a Golden Angel on a Sand Soldiers, even if sometimes you have to. Ideally, if you can avoid it, you want to avoid it. So this list is a kind of aggressive Azir build, focused on Sand Soldiers, as I just mentioned. I don't think it's like giga good. It's definitely playable. It can definitely surprise your opponents. Is it top of the pop? Probably not. Is it playable? Yes. Is it fun? Kind of. Was I expecting better for Azir? Yes. I was hoping Azir could be in the top tier of Set 2 Legends. Unfortunately, from my read so far, it's only going to be in the middle of the pack and not nowhere near the top. You can at least hide if it's super important. Yes, you can, but let's say you enter a battlefield with something like a Sand Soldier and they play something like Void Seeker and you don't have the Defy, it kind of feels bad. because then you don't score the point, which hurts a lot as an aggressive deck. And then like you have your Emperor, but you don't have a target for it. So meh. Do you think with set 2 Victory is better token deck than Azir? And will you make videos of set 1 decks updated with set 2? Thank you so much, Moritori. Thank you for the kind words, brother. Yes, I think with set 2, Victor is probably a slightly better token deck than Azir. And I will probably make some set 1 updated lists at some point. Maybe I will not cover all of them because there's a lot, and we've already spent the last 3 weeks making some set 2 guides. But yeah, I'm probably going to be doing some updates on set 1 list at some point. You can expect that from me at the various in the upcoming weeks, because we're going to grind to prepare for the Chinese tourneys that I'm definitely going to cast. Don't exactly know where, be it on my channel, on Robalas's channel, on maybe another channel, potentially. But we'll have to prepare for this. Definitely I'm going to be digging into these set 1 decks. Sorry, I'm dying. Then, battlefield-wise, we're playing a cool lineup of battlefields. Once again, I really like when you have that edge of like, you play battlefields that feel good for your deck, and most of the other decks can't abuse them. And so this feels pretty good. This is also something that the set 2 brought along the way, because we have so many new battlefields that have cool interactions that we have options to play very different battlefield lineups. Whereas in set 1, I feel like 2 of the 3 battlefields were pretty much always the same. And so the first battlefield that I decided to play is Hall of Legends, which is just cracked on Azir. This is my game 1 battlefields. No, this is my game 1 battlefield. Yeah, exactly. So Hall of Legends is when you conquer here, you may pay an energy to ready your legend, which means I play an equip, I tap Azir, pay an energy, spawn a Sand Soldier, Weapon Master, blah 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 blah. I conquer in the Hall of Legends, I pay an energy to ready Azir, I pay an energy to tap Azir, create another Sand Soldier. So basically what this allows you to do is play 2 Sand Soldiers in the same turn with Azir, and most of the time you're able to do that because in the mid game you don't have big units to drop, so you might as well use your turn 1 Sand Soldier to conquer in there and generate 2 Sand Soldiers out of it. So this is a pretty cool battlefield for Azir. I could probably just add the visuals. Yeah, this is game 1. Then going second, I'm playing Trifarian. Allows you to push with the Sand Soldiers and gives them a lot of value. Allows you to stack the Sand Soldiers in there if you manage to get in the lead. And this is a lot of the time, because getting double conquers with this deck is, because of this guy, is never impossible. Like most of the time you do it once or twice in the game. So yeah, Trifarian feels super good. And then the last one is Ornn's Forge. For going first, Ornn's Forge once again is when you play an equip, this turn you can pay 1 energy less the first time you play an equip, or a gear rather. And so just makes sense, right? You send the Sand Soldier in there and then you pay 0 for Doran, you pay 0 for I, or you pay just 1 for Brutalizer, 1 for GA, or 3 for BF. The better use case is BF. Because having a BF going first live on board feels super good. Like go turn 1, I play something like Doran, create my Sand Soldier in base. Then turn 2, I untap, and I just push in there with the first Sand Soldier. For 3 might, I play 3 energy. Sorry, I play BF because of Ornn's Forge, and then tap Azir, make a Sand Soldier, Weapon Master, equip the BF, and then for 4 energy, I have a 5 might Sand Soldier already on turn 2, which is pretty good. Pretty good. So yeah, that's the plan for the battlefields. Rune-wise, there's just more yellow power to pay, so we're playing a bit more of yellow runes. Also, sometimes we have to pay a yellow one in the mid game with this, and so we want to have a bit more yellow to maximize the odds of seeing one to accelerate the champion. And then in the sideboard dedicated section, Savage, unfortunately, green does not have like giga good options to deal with gears. So we have to play the Salvage. The thing is, into most gear decks, we are going to be the faster decks. So I'm questioning myself on salvage. It feels too good in some spots to not play it, especially when you're into Yi and stuff that use Sterak or GAs. Like you just have your Sand Soldier lying around with like 4 or 5 might because of the equip, and then they attack with the Sterak and you play salvage, you remove the equip, and then they just die miserably. Like this is pretty good, obviously. Same for like Draven, facilitates your trade into Draven. And since you're the aggressive deck, I'm not certain you want to play Salvage, but it still feels good and overall like pretty good in the format. So I decided to run it. Facebreaker though, when you're going first, feels completely cracked. Allows you to hold that Owned Forge, allows you to get them early points off the hold. Does not cost the power. Like this is pretty good going first. This is super giga good going first actually. And then Windwall as a 2-off is basically, I really want to have the ability to at least pressure the Thermal Beam. And so if you have to draw Thermal Beam, I'm going to have to draw Windwall. This is not a good solution because one, they could play more Thermal Beams. They could play 3 of them. And 2, most decks that run Thermal Beam these days are better at drawing cards than this Azir build is. So most likely if you're playing the game of like, if you draw it, I have to draw it, you're going to lose. But once again, this is the reason why these decks are not like top of the pop. They have flaws, weaknesses, however you want to call them, that are not very hard, very easy, to deal with. And Thermal Beam is one of them. If you're going to play a gear-centric strategy and you can't deal with Thermal Beam, you are going to be losing games because of it. And that it is what it is. Life, I guess. Do you think you need Renata for this deck? Yeah, okay. Let's jump. Perfect questions for Snarky, thank you. Let's jump in the section regarding cards I opted not to play. We already talked about Sacred Shears. So this one, basically the power cost in the early game was too much. If you want to have the full explanation, you can just go back to the VOD, it's free, and you will see like I explained everything. Renata, so Renata, you could play Renata, this one, because this reads your tokens enter ready, and so you could abuse it to have your Sand Soldiers enter ready, because these are Sand Soldiers token. The problem with Renata is that if you play Renata, you basically skip a turn, because you want it to be available as soon as possible, so basically on like your 4/5 runes turn, you play a power, you play Renata, and you skip a turn because you don't have enough energy to play gear, don't have enough energy to play a token. And so you're kind of slowing down on that aggressive game plan that you have of like relentless aggression, scoring point after point and pressuring your opponents. And so it kind of felt like when Renata is supposed to accelerate your game plan, in reality what it did was slowing it down. Which is why I decided to not run it. I don't think this deck needs it. I think you could play it if you want to, but I'd rather play Xin. That is just like a good standalone card, and that when it's accelerated, it gets super good compared to Renata, which if you draw it in the mid to late game, it's pretty unusable and expensive because it's too slow and does not combine so well, or at least as well as expected it to, with the deck strategy. What about Stratagem? You could play a 1-off or 2-off Stratagem to close the game. I just feel like Arise is your kind of custom Stratagem. Because like, yes, you're not generating that much might compared to Stratagem. But if you have your gears, you're generating enough to push for the BFs. And if you don't have your gears anyway, you're just going to lose that game because Stratagem, you won't have enough Sand Soldiers to value it. So I think I'd rather play Arise than Stratagem that requires that you have the units on boards. Another card that I wanted to talk about was the Green Azir. Green Azir is a terrific unit. This one. 6 energy and a power for 6 might. Pay a green power, action speed effect. Choose a unit you control, move me to its location, so swap them. And then if it's equipped, you may swap one of the equipments to the Azir. You can only use this effect once per turn. This is a terrific card. The only problem, once again, is that it's kind of slow. Like, you can pseudo-accelerate it by paying the power, but it's giga expensive, and you're most likely full tapped when you do this. And if they have a counter, feels bad. So you have to somehow play it later on, but then it's giga slow compared to yellow Azir that allows you most of the time to snag 2 points the turn it drops, like it's the board. So this is the reason I decided to play yellow Azir, while green Azir is a pretty decent card in my opinion. But it's just a tad bit too slow in that deck. I was considering Fiora as well, just because she costs 3 and does not eat power until you actually need the accelerate. Fiora as in yellow Fiora? Huh. Do we want to play yellow Fiora? Why would we want to play yellow Fiora though? It's like when you equip to it, you make her mighty and then you accelerate her. Because then, aside from that, she literally can't accelerate Sand Soldiers, right? Like, aside from BF, they are never big enough to be accelerated with Fiora. So, okay, so it probably is good when you have BF. But if you don't have BF, it gets super bad, no? I feel like it gets kinda bad. BF and Brutalizer. Oh yeah, with Brutalizer too, you're right. We have Brutalizer. Okay, so it gets better since we have 6 cards that can trigger it. Is it good enough? I mean, since you can move Brutalizer around with the Weapon Master thingy, I guess I could see it, yes. I guess I could see it. You could probably want to play Fiora instead of Xin. I think I like the tank port still of Xin. But yeah, I think you could play Yellow Fiora in the spot of Xin. I could see it. I could see it. Yellow Azir is the same cost to Red Kaisa. It feels really good. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, it's worse than Red Kaisa. Red Kaisa is a way better unit than Yellow Azir. But yeah, it's kind of a good unit still. Like, it's decent at the very least. But you're right, Snurky. You could play potentially Fiora in the spot of Xin. I would not be too surprised if you want to run it. Makes sense. Might be able to one-time Green Azir in sideboard to swap champs. Since this deck is all-out aggro, I don't really see a matchup in which I would decide not to aggro and to play it slower. Except if it's like an unplayable matchup, and then if it's unplayable, like Green Azir is not going to help me win that one. So I don't think I want to swap at any time in any matchup. Is Kitty Cat out? Okay, great. I can close the door. Alrighty, so that's about it for the Azir talk, and that's also about it for all of tonight's lists. Now, how about we jump on TCG Arena to try and play one of these decks? What do you guys think? Does anyone in the chat wants to play some TCG Arena, or are we just queuing into a random like ladder game to try and play one of these builds? From what you guys said in the chat, I guess you want me to play Sivir, which I'm kind of fine with doing. I like Sivir. Sivir, yeah. I guess we're going to play Sivir. Does anyone in the chat want to jump in a quick TCG Arena game and play? Or am I just queuing into someone random? I would play, but I'd rather watch your POV. Yeah, I get that. Thank you for the photos, Snarky. I get that. Decks. Create deck. Let me just import that Sivir build from... Where is it? I'm trying some Fiora list. I can play. We can have a match if you want. Let's go. Perfect. Here. Oh, I have to make that list public though. Give me a second. Edit deck. Save. Public. Azir list. Let me just pin it on top. Here we go. And then let me just update the stream title. Trying the Sivir Reanimator lists. What are you doing, kitty? Huh? She's baiting me. She's baiting me. She's like out here but does not want to come in. My decks, Sivir, and then is it... Which one is it? Export as text, yeah. Copy. And then let me just move to this Sivir Reanimator. She wants to come in though. Come in, baby. And then import, paste, import and replace. And here we go. Save. Perfect. So can you send your Grottost? How are you doing, my friends? Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and all of the good stuff to you, Grottost. Can we jump in a game? Can you send your ID Moritori if you know how to do it? If you don't, it's fine. I'm just going to queue into a random game and it will be perfect. But if you want to play, just drop your ID in the chat and I will just join your room. It's fine. And we'll be playing a Sivir game. Here we go. Join. My bad. Here we go. And here we are. I don't have a mat though. Sivir, yup. Perfect. Let's go. Let's go, let's go. I have to move this aside though, else I can't see the points, which is a problem. Okay, great. Let me just unplug that so it's not a bother. Let me roll a dice. Okay, 6. Oh. I get to start. Do we have a better scene? Huh. I'm pretty big though. Oh yeah. I'm pretty big because I think I have to do this. Give me a second. If I do this, aren't we good? This. And then I get... Huh. Let me be a bit smaller. Yeah, great. That one feels good. Okay. Okay, let's go for the mulligan and let's go for the BF. So remove, visible to all, and then mulligan. Alright, so we see the turn 1. This we definitely want. This, we are into Fiora, so this I don't hate. This is probably a bit early. Probably I want to mulligan this, and I want to keep all of this, right? Yeah, probably. Probably. So. This is a treasure drop for sure. Here we go. Pass. So this is treasure. We're going to try to get into the Warren to proc the scrap heap. And then what we're looking for is Ezreal in this early game. Okay, he's buffing the monkey. 2 fights is a bit too much, but it's fine. Let's just get in there. Goats. Here we go. So score, ability. I'm dump. Trash, then draw, then scrap, draw. Okay, good. Pretty good. And now if we recycle a rune, we can exhaust Sivir, but do we want to here? This is a free trade for them next turn, except if we play the Zealous here. We could also do something like merchant in base pass, but then we would give the... I mean, if they just monkey, we could just use one of the 4. We have 2 of them. So, I mean, I have to use the stack, because if we find Ezreal, we'll probably play it here. Top chord, manage top chords, show, and we find Ezreal. So we have to play it now, I believe. Yeah, we definitely have to. So this is to end, bottom. So this goes out of the way, and then we're just tapping 3, recycling purple to play as, tapping Sivir to create a gold in base, and then as to get rid of the merchant, probably. Draw 2 cards. We find a scrap heap. So if we conquer the war next turn, we are able to cycle even more, and we have the cold shot to not pay next turn. That's perfect. And then it's just pass. This feels super good, right? Like, did you see how much I cycled on a turn 2 and how everything was calculated? I was like, okay, but then if we play stack and we find the Ezreal, then we have to play the Ezreal because then next turn this opens up for this. And then of course we draw into good cards, but like we have so many cycling cards in this deck. It's crazy. Like this deck is just straight up crazy. Feels too good. And then next turn we also pressure with the Sivir potentially. Because we're not paying the additional cost because of Ezreal. He's attacking. Alright, this is gone. Okay, discarding back to back. Drawing a chords. Purple chord so strong. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Purple is crazy. Fiorine base, I believe. Yup. How do you like this into Draven and Irelia? We need more testing to be 100% certain. I like love it, but this definitely feels good. So do we want to get in there with Ezreal, and then if you play something like Punch first, we just fight or flight it to base? But then I think we're just cracking a gold to go for a cold shot and see what we hit. Is that the plan? Because then we can have Sivir enter. I mean, if we accelerate Sivir, we have to tap O5, which I kinda don't like. Or we could use it in Sunken. It's probably about cracking a goal right now. Yeah. Crack a gold to play shots. Repeat with S. So if this goes through, I'm digging top 2, adding 1, then digging top 2, adding 1. And only paying a power because of S ability. This is completely completely busted. Does not make sense. I'm able to do this. Oops. Oops. So top chords. 1, 2. Okay, this is definitely a cold shot. Thank you for the follow, Pokey. Definitely a cold shot and a bottom. And then top 2. Is it Rasha? We have 4 cards in trash. It's probably Rasha, right? And then Zilus to bottom, I guess. And then I kind of want to fight that monkey, but the buff is annoying and I don't want to have to use punch first now. But maybe I have to? Is it like as punch first over the monkey? And then if they punch first back, we use the fight? I could see it. Then do I want to sabotage first to check for the ends? Probably yes. Or I just push as here and I just wait for next turn. Which is probably good too. Because we have the fight to deal with whatever they do. That's an interesting situation. I guess, yeah, I guess it's as. I mean, we don't trigger Sunkon. I don't like it. Yeah, let's just get here and grid. And grid. Do we want to? Probably I want to, right? Yeah, let's go. So it's going to be S. Then I'm going to float 1. To recycle 2. And then punch on S. They are punching 2 most likely. Good to go? Huh? Okay, so this resolves. So this S is plus 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Punch. Yup. Yes, sir. So this is good to go. And then they don't have the runes to... Yep. They're ramping. Yep. Then floating to play this. Send the monkey to base. Don't forget your gold. Oh, you're right. You're right. You're right. Oh. Let me use gold instead of rune. I'm Dumbo. Let me bring back search, play, close, play. This goes out of the way. Yeah. And then Sivir makes gold. So this is tapped. Forgot the step. Okay, so conquer goods. Yeah, this is just way better. Like I just kill it and then I just make another one with Sivir. And then I can just use scrap heap to to discard this, draw one of the BF, then draw one of the heap, draw. And then with the two remaining ones, do I want to go Zealous? Or do I want to keep a rune open for Flight? Flight is not good enough, I'm going to get traded no matter what, but probably I want to play Zealous here, right? Or I could play Rasha in base too, or Rasha on here. But if they have something like Orange set, this gets traded pretty easily, so I think we have to develop Zealous here. Probably. Yeah. Or it's Zealous in base. Yeah, it's maybe Zealous in base. And it's pass. It's pass. Sorry. Thinking a lot. Then next turn we have 3 rashes. Because he's going to kill Ezreal and then we have a trade. We can use something like Cold Shot. So we have 3 rashes. Which feels good. Also, we have the stack to find another Ezreal, which we want, probably. I like Zealous. Save Rasha for when Sivir Legend is up to get a gold. Yeah, we have a lot of options with this Zealous here. Okay, it's orange set, isn't it? Yes, it is. So, cool that we played around it. Because they could have just pushed with set. Do they accelerate it? Yes, they do. Makes sense. And then they're punching into Ez most likely. The good news is they're going to... I kind of wanted to develop Rasha, but that was a lot of power. Probably, maybe I could have done so. But the good news is they're going to be super exposed to a lot of stuff. And they only have 1 rune open. So the Sabotage is going to come in super handy if we have to check the hand. We can see whatever they can do. And they used a punch first already, so they only have 2 remaining. Set is good. So gets the buff, gets to draw with the Suncon. They are full tapped, okay. Completely tapping here is because they have Call to Glory, right? But then if we play Sivir Sabotage and we find the call, aren't we in a pretty good spot? Oh, this is 0 by the way. Toggle counter. Yep. This one's ditch. Yep. Opens zone for us, which I don't hate. We find a scrap heap off the top. Okay, so now they are completely tapped. Set is buffed, so they could have call. So let's just get Zealous in here and then see what we find. But most likely we're going to go for a Sivir play in there, aren't we? Feels like that's the plan. Let's just go Zealous first and see what happens. Zealous in there. Good to go. Okay, great. pitch, scrap heap again. Draw, draw. We find the S. Okay, so we could make Sivir less expensive next turn, and we could play 3 rashes here. Like, S, recycle 1, make a gold. Then they have Fiora. They could just untap set, spend the buff, accelerate it here. But we could have Zealous to deal with that. So I don't hate it. This is useless now. This has a lot of value next turn because of S. Let's just start with the Sabotage and see what we can find in their end. Because if they don't have, or if they only have the Call to Glory, and we can trade with Sivir, it's super good. So let's just use the Sabotage first. Put Sabotage on the pile. Check the hands. They have the Call. Okay, get rid of it. And then resolution is Sivir. Make a goat. Here. Make a tapped goat. And then now we know we are killing that set. So let's just accelerate that Sivir. So it is 5 energy and 2 power, but we are paying with a goat. And then we still have to pay a power, right? Yep. And then we can just push with Sivir in there. And this has +2. Because of its own ability. So we kill the set. We score. And then I guess we don't want to develop the ration now. They still have to pick if they play something like set again. Kun or whatever. The end was like Fiora Primal. Kun or whatever. It is what it is. I should have taken notes. I forgot. My bad, I guess. And it's just a pass here. Straight up pass. They have Primal, so they have a way to deal with one of our units. I think they don't have a way to deal with both. Primal, Kiana, Pit Rookie, Fiora, Primal. For the last one, Kiana. Okay, thank you guys. You are my notes. You guys are my notes. So we have S. We still have not seen the gear that would allow us to chain loop S from trash. I'm fine with that trade, yes. Definitely. I'm fine with that. It's okay. Then what do we have here? 4 is Fiora in base, right? Most likely, yes, sir. And then 2. Rookie. Oh, we're going to be able to accelerate that Fiora. Okay. All good. And then they get the trade onto my Sivir. Yep. Sivir Detch. And they can even draw. We know they don't have the call though. But we don't have a way to trade either. Could have eaten that Fight or Flight. Never getting around the 7 rune mark. Yeah, kind of. Kind of. So now we're not in a super good spot. We probably should have developed a Rasha in base using 1 rune. But then we have to drop Ezreal for sure here. We could just go Rasha. And Treasure Hunter. They are on 4. Would put them at 6. We don't like it. Or we just go... Just go S. Let's just go S. And discard one of them cold shots, I guess. I mean, we want to go heavy this turn. So yeah, let's go S first. And discard the Hunter. And we'll see what happens. Hunter out of the way. Draw 2. Okay, punch first. Now we have an answer for next turn. Problem is they are tapped this turn, not next turn. But we can play something like Rights, Rasha, Stack. Yellow. Let's use this first. Let's stack. Manage top chords. 1, 2, 3. Rebuke is good too. We were missing on that removal of like Rebuke / Fizz. Now we find it pretty expensive though. Do we want to use stack and dig for ride once more? But then ride is kind of expensive. We could also go merchant in base. I don't hate it. I could see merchant there. But we need the rebuke though. Let's just add the rebuke. Bottom. Tap runes for S. Oh yeah, my bad. I paid the gold token though, so it's good. Now let's just recycle this to play Rasha in base. Tap this to create a gold. Tapped in base. Oh, this is trashed. And then let's just pay 3 to play this. And good to go. I have cold shot to look for right. Yeah, but I'd rather do it next turn when I don't pay the power, because like I pay 1 of the gold and then I don't pay it because of S. Only thing is they could have challenge now, which would be a bother. But once we find the right, we're in a pretty good spot. Oh, they find the sabotage there. Yes, sir. So this is here, I believe. Reveal all. What do they want to get rid of is the question. Huh. Free stack deck. What do we mean free stack deck? Yeah, get rid of rebuke, that makes sense. To deck bottom. It's only 16 chords away though. Good. Feels like it is. Yep, okay. Set once again. Alrighty. That Fiora is ganking, so if I'm to deal with anything, I pretty much have to deal with that Fiora in Sunken. Retreat Fiora makes a lot of sense. Yeah, they have to retreat that one too. That makes sense. And then they just prepare for a big all-out brawl next turn. So now the question is, are we able to find answers? We have what it takes to replay something from the trash with the rights. We still have to pay the energy cost though. So how do we want to do it? You add 6 runes last turn, played ace, rights, and stacked. Was I on 6? Did I forget to pay for stack? Or if I did so, my bad. It could be true. Not sure, because like with the goals and stuff, it's hard to calculate, but could be true. If I did so, my bad. So let me think. We could give the shovel the rights to Rasha, then conquer in the Warrens, then get rid of that, draw one, and then play the Zealous in there. That would be a decent start. But then we really have to dig for that rebuke there. So it's probably... Yeah, okay. So let's start with the draw one port, and then we'll have to see. So it's gonna be group, discords. Do we just want to draw though? No, we don't want to spend the energy. So we get in there, try and conquer with the Rasha. Okay, so score. So zone first. Oh, I have to recycle with shovel. So let me just first do it properly. Recycle 2 chords to the bottom of the deck. These ones we don't care about. Just go down to the bottom of the deck. Now, let's use zone. Draw 1 as, okay. And now let's use rights, tab 2. So rights, tab 2 because I conquered. Play Zealous. Here. Okay, so we have some sort of holding position here. Now, we kind of still have to find a rebuke. And we want to develop that Russia. And we want to be able to use that fight, but we could hide it. It's just going to cost a lot of runes. Let's use code, recycling this. Then top 1, 2. Okay, we find the rebuke. With the fizz though, but we have to take that rebuke. So this goes to end, this goes to bottom, then 1, 2. And we finally find that right. Do we still need it though, is the question. I think I'd rather have another fight, right? So let's... I mean, we have to have the right though. At some point it's going to come in handy, yeah. Let's just grid. Let's just grid this one. And then I want to pay a power to hide this. I want to have this to be able to play it from the end. Also this potentially, so this is going to be a lot of power, and I want to play Russia in base. This is going to be, like, we have the Zealous, we have this, so we are pretty much safe from everything they could do. So let's just... It's a pain to make it floating though, but it is what it is. Oh, and use Sivir also to make it gold. Let's not forget about that gold. And now I believe it's about Russia in base. Do I want to hide the... Probably not, right? I have the 5 runes to pay for all 5 cards, then I can also play it. Yeah, I guess we're just passing here. Good to go. One seal of Discord purple might come in handy. I could see a seal, potentially, yes. You don't need that. Why do I not need? What do I not need? Fiora. Yes, it's probably good to go. Yes, go for it. The seals. I could see one since you're almost guaranteed to see it. Do you need it? Probably not. I also think I'm not a super good Sivir player. Like, this is kind of tough. Okay, so we are using the Call to Glory on Fiora, making her mighty, giving her the deflect, giving her the ganking because of Fiora's champion. Yup. Go for it. Yup. And now we have to deal with everything, right? We have 8 might. It's going to be 6 because of Zealous. But we can use Punch first. We can also use this. Fight or Flight. We have one in the trash, right? And the other one is at the bottom of the deck. So now if they conquer with everything, we have to find an out if we are able to. Oh, it's orange set again? Okay, it's King Q. King Q? I don't hate it. The Sivir decks felt quite strong to me. Yes, it is definitely strong. Yeah, there's like so many decision making on this. Like too much decisions actually. But yeah. We're ganking with just Sivir? Okay, no. Is that it? So we have to deal with that Sivir? Ain't it just Zealous on this? Back to base. I mean, it has gank, it has deflect. Paying the rune sucks, but I feel like it's just Zealous. Because then, yeah, it's just Zealous. So floats, and then use Zealous target big one. Kill me. Target Fiora. Yup. Recycle. So I have a flooding rune. Good to go. Primal, right? Yes, sir. So now this is 10. We have to use the punch first. Yep, resolves. So this is 10. Float. Oh, they do restand it. Okay, float 2. Or just, yeah, 2. And then this and this I recycled for punch first. Target, of course, this dude. So this is now 11 plus the 2 here, it's 13. Punch first to the trash. Still have 2 runes floating. And then if they push with something, I can just fight or flight it, I guess. Can you set up a wind with Ride the Wind? Probably not, unfortunately. It made me appreciate the power of Purple S more than the Ed Legend. Yeah. This is pretty good in... So this is 8, I'm 13. Yeah, punch first, go for it. I'm just going to... Foff, you just die. Anything? Huh. What is it? Do they want to punch first? And make it a 13 in 13 trade? I mean, if they do it, they win. But that will be granted I don't have anything. And I do have something. So... Fuck. I take it back. Don't worry. Yeah. Probably miscounted. Whatever. Foff, Ride the Wind. Oh, Ride the Wind here? And then hold? Yeah, true. We could have had a winning spot there. You're right. But he's not attacking anymore. So... It's... Wait. My bad. Wait. What is that? So this is now 11 total. Anything? I'm 13. Plus 2 of rights. If they still want to attack, I'm going to pull it for sure. Thank you for the follow, Samtech. Yeah, if they don't do anything, I'm definitely going to try and play that right thing. I'm 15. Oh, it's double buff. Oh. But then if I foff and they come in with pit, we just straight up lose the game. So use 2 floating. Fight or flight. Target. Okay. Right ability on holds. Tap 2 to replay a Zealous fan. Here we go. Same shit. Over and over. And now, what do we do? Because if they play in Senkon, we're fine. They don't have buffs and they only have one card in hand. They probably used most of their buffs. So I'd say we're in a decent spot. We just have to not fuck that game up. So is stacking the play? Definitely feels like it. We could also conquer with Russia. Tap 1, draw. But I think I'd rather use the cold shot with the gold in this scenario. So pop the golds, colds, repeat as. Because I'm looking for that third fight or flight, which was at the bottom, but we've seen quite a few cards since then. So we could probably see it, I guess. On the Aunt. Do we want to be on the Aunt? I think we don't. Fizz, we don't have the energy to play it though. So is it on the Aunt? I mean, we have the Rebuke, so it's pseudo fourth. Looks so fun, I'm definitely playing this. Yeah, it's super good. Let's just put this in the end and put this at the bottom because I don't feel like we need it right now. And oops. Oops. Why can't I type though? To top deck, my bad, and then manage top chords, show 2 more. Sabotage. Huh! I'm not sabotaging this turn, so let's just keep it for next turn to bottom. And then aren't we just doing this? I feel like that's the plan, no? We have the right for next turn anyway, so I think that's the plan. It has to be. And then it's just a pass, and if they decide to hold, we just have the rebuke right thingy. Just a pass, yes. Definitely. Big army. Yes, sir. Another Fizz, we cycled through the whole deck. Yup. We've seen all of it. And now we're riding, right? Can they win if we... Can they win? Oh, this is only +2 because of the rights. Let's just toggle this. Thinking. Because here, if we ride, and then they have a buff, but we have Zealous? No, it's probably never enough. So we just have to ride Russia, right? And then we lose to what? Primal Strength, punch first. They only used 1 punch, 1 primal. Back to back, we don't lose. Riding a Russia. Or we just let them get in there, but if they send everything in there, we are in a tough spot. Do we have an out? If they send everything in there, do we have an out is the question. We have Ride and Fizz. So we could... No, we don't. Because this is 12. This is 12. We have 6 runes open. So we have to keep 2 open to play the Ride. Then we have Russia, though, that we could use the Rides to play something. We could use... Oh, we could play Sivir. Wait. We could play Sivir. So Sivir would be 6. Then if we Ride... We still don't win. But it would be cool. It would be super cool. But we don't have this as an option. And then if we want to rebuke, we can't really. So it's about Fizz. It's about Fizz finding that fourth, right? Fizz playing cold shot, finding that fourth. I think we have to ride here. Oh, this. Yeah, we have to ride. Russia to pit. Yep, we have to. It's not good though. They still, yeah, if they found the buff, we're doomed. I could have sent this. Instead, it was 8, but we still die to Primal if this is Primal. Yeah. This go through. So pitch one, they draw one. That being said, they had to use the Primal there. So feels like it's not too bad. Because we have enough might to hold on now. They could have a buff still. If they have another buff, could mean problems. But then we have the Zealous though. So are we pushing or are we stacking is the question. We stack. Okay. That makes a lot of sense. Just stack everything in there. And the right munch we can do. They decide not to stack, huh? They decide not to stack, okay. And they are completely tapped. That game is over, no? Let me calc. I think that game is over, though. Because then... Okay, we can fizz. We can fizz the ride. If we want to. Oh, I have a... gold. I mean, it does not matter, though. But I do have a gold from Sivir. Theoretically. We could just... Rasha... We could fizz, ride the Rasha, then use punch first, and we beat all of it. And we just win that game, right? So, it's not hold effect, never. It's just Rasha, punch first, fizz. It's game over, GG's. Okay, I found it. So this is tap 3. Let's tap this one. Fizz in base. Fizz ability. Recycle one. Replay the right on Rasha. So Rasha is moving there. I have to pay the power cost for the right there. So Rasha is moving there. I'm making that gold token in base. And then I'm tapping one, recycling 2 for a punch first. And that's game. GG's. Sick game. Not gonna lie. Do we have time for another one? Game 2? Question mark. Was so cool though. We find it out. I think I misplayed like a billion times in that game. But yeah. This deck is awesome. Yeah, this deck feels super good. This deck feels like giga good. It was 8 versus 6, you did not need the punch. Yeah, but if they have a... Like, they had this a buffed set in base. If they have the Call to Glory, I have to have the punch. Set 2 adds so much to this game. Yes, definitely. Primal was good. Rebuke was good. Sabotage was good. We have problems. We're in trouble, chat. Do we get rid of the scrap apes though? Probably, right? We are going to be going second. Not in the Warrens. I think we want to get rid of the Ips. To go for Rebuke, Sabotage, and Primal. Yep. Let's go. And then going second, it's Minefield, right? Yep. So remove. Visible by all. I don't think it had buff on him, but the cord is so ranged it's all to tell. Or maybe it did not have a buff. I thought it had, but I will start. Good luck, have fun, my friends. Yo, Jace. I don't think it is the list that won the Runes and Rift, but I was inspired by it. I could drop it. Just give me a second and I will drop it. Okay, I don't want to see this in the very early game. This is too expensive. This I like. This I'll see more later on. I want to fish for a turn 1 play. All good. Let me just drop you the list. Chase, give me a second. Copy link. Here you go. Here you go. Is this visible by all? All? Yeah. Oops. Okay, plays pit and passes. And I draw into nothing, but maybe stack deck finds it. Let me dig. Please, stacky. Huh? Oh. Okay, we have the rebukes, we have the fight or flight. We need the ride. We need to grab that ride, though. We need to grab that ride. And I think they are still at the top, right? Yeah. Bottom. And it's a pass. Sucks. Definitely sucks. It is what it is. Next turn we could accelerate Sivir if he's completely tapped there, but probably wants to play Fiora from Champion Zone. Yeah. This is good. You concur. Digging so much, like mulliganing 2 into stack deck and not finding. Oh, he completely taps. Do we want to accelerate Sivir? Probably not, right? I mean, we could accelerate Sivir. It would be giga expensive. Do we have another play is the question? Probably not. I mean, we have to see. It's that or Sivir in base. It's probably a better play. But then if they have challenge, that game is doomed. And we could check for challenge with sabotage, but then we recycle too much. So I guess it's this. Sivir token. Pass. I don't like it. But yeah, we found all of the toolbox and not a single unit, so it is what it is. I'm playing on TCG Arena, Raja. TCG-arena.fr. Reverse it and you got it. Alright, so my man to be thinking, but we are very late on board presence so far. And now we're going to draw into all other turn 1 units that are shit right now. We could still get a bit of meal with the minefield to stack for that rush. Okay, Fiora. All good. Gets the points. Meals. I think this is not optional though. You have to, right? Yep. Okay, he did meal. Oh! Meeting a call? That's very good intel. TCGarena.fr. Yep, exactly. FR. So how do we get back into that game? Is the question. 3. We could go for sabotage, ride the win, and try to conquer both. Beat that Fiora if we see nothing out of the sabotage. They do find the sabotage though. I mean, we don't have an option but to reveal everything. Feels bad. Feels bad. They get rid of sabotage, right? I guess that's... Like, if we only had the one rebuke, they could get rid of it. But since we have 2 rebukes and a 4th, they probably get rid of the sabotage. Decide to get rid of 4th, okay. 2 bottom deck. Good. He saw my chord. Was too fast on that, but whatever. Whatever. Do we want to sabotage is the question here. I mean, we don't have a choice. We once again draw into a trash chord. So we somehow have to. And then if we get to... Yeah, show me. Do we have buffs? And if so, how many? Huh! Uh-huh. We do have buffs, chat. We do have buffs. Challenge. All of them cards are a problem. I guess we want to get rid of free posts though. So we have to. Yep. Repost. Get rid of that. Eat both. Yeah, I think that's the point. I think that's the plan. I think that's the plan. And then it's about... and another one. See ya, riposta. Yeah, this. But then, do we even want to conquer with the Sivir is the question. I mean, we kind of have to, right? As in, we know they have Call to Glory, but they can't play it, and the other card is Challenge. Challenge could be troublesome, though. But since we paid 2 power, this is +2. If they decide to use Challenge and kill it, I mean, yeah. No, it does not make sense. Yeah, we're good to go. So the course of action, I feel like, is Sivir there. Sivir there to trigger Minefield. Then ride the wind there, then Sivir back to base, and we just wait for next turn to happen. 2? Oh, so they are challenging. I feel like they kind of don't want to, right? They just kill, like they just straight up kill 2 of their units if they want to challenge. Does not make sense. Oh, I should have sent Sivir to the Dreaming Tree to ride in there and draw a card. I'm playing pretty poorly. So what are we doing here? Targets. Pit Rookie and Sivir. Okay. So they want to kill Sivir, which unfortunately is our only unit. Otherwise, I would have probably said it's like pretty fine. But if they do this, okay, so this resolves anyway. I don't have an answer. This resolves. Then can you ride the wind over, reset combat damage, and gang back? Yes, we can. We definitely can do that. Do we want to? Because then the problem is that Sivir is exposed, but I feel like we have to. It's either that or we review that in ants. When we know what they play next turn. They don't have the runes to play this plus Call to Glory, because this their last card in end is Call to Glory. Thinking, but I think we have to do what you said. Yeah, let's just do that. Sivir to Dreaming. So this untaps, score, heal damage, and then gank. Kill the Fiora, score, and then manage top chords, show, discord. Okay, we're pretty happy with discording these ones, not gonna lie. These are not cards that I did want to draw, so not gonna lie, pretty happy. And then I guess we're just passing here. I can't really say I love the plays, but do we have other options? Huh. We're seeing the entire toolbox and not a lot of actual cards. For another Fiora that they just drew into and then Call to Glory. Okay, so we get the holds. That feels good. Another Sabotage. We know it's Call to Glory, so as long as it's not relevant, I might as well keep it in there. We could just play a Russia. If we play Russia, though, we probably do it recycling a rune. Right? This is cool, this does not matter. So let's just play Russia, recycle. I mean, we could also... Yeah, but we could also Sabotage with the gold then. We get rid of the core, and then we play Russia, and so this has ganking, and this goes here. That makes a lot of sense, actually. So I feel like the plan is pop the gold. Yeah, the plan is definitely that. Pop the gold, tap 1, sabotage. Get... I know it's cool. I know it is cool. Yup. Then it's 3, 1, 2, 3. Recycle 1, Russia in base, Sivir. Play token in base, I feel like. And then this gets +2 ganking. Gank. I'm on life support. Same law. Gank, go to 4, pass. And we have the rebuke open if they try to go for some sort of like big punchers play or whatever. I mean, it's not like perfect, but we're still somehow living in that game. Okay, it's set. Oh, that set is going to get rebuked. Let me tell you what, that set is getting rebuked. He's probably going to push in there with set on Sivir, right? Would make sense. Yeah. Yep. Are we rebuking? I don't see a word in which we don't. No, I don't think we want to rebuke the Sivir. It's too expensive. But this we want to do. Yep. Back to hands. And this gets +2. Because of the fact that I did use 2 power this turn. So now that Sivir is 6, and if they use everything to trade into it, I could just free trade them with the Russia. And this is very valuable. So they probably don't. This Sivir is probably still living next turn. Okay. They decide to pass. I don't hate it. I don't hate it. We probably want to get in that minefield before we play the Fizz. We have the stack deck there. But... yeah, we probably want to get in that minefield anyway before we play the Fizz. So it's going to be Russia getting in there. Score, fields, manage top 2, show. Discords. We found the code shot. Do we want to play code shot over stack deck? I could see it, to be fair. I could see playing code shot over stack deck. It's 2 power. I mean, the problem is that it's 2 power and we don't have that much purple. So I guess it's stack deck. Let's just break that code to play Fizz. I feel like, yep. Then feasibility, play stack. Stack to look for the top 3. 1, 2, 3. As in considering my options. Well, I'll take it. Low. This goes to bottom of the deck because Fizz. It just makes no sense, Low. And then I'm good to go. Pass to you, mate. Pass to you. Bro. As? Huh? And now what I want is for them to trade Russia. And so next turn I try to cook something with Sivir and Fizz. So this is set. We know about it. Yeah, all of this is good to go. Buff, tap. Skill intensive gameplay. Like, this last reveal was so much decision making, right? But yeah, overall the deck is very skill intensive. Oh yeah, this is dead. Am I rebuking though, is the question. I could rebuke again. How worth it would it be? It would be pretty worth it, actually. Because if they do this, then I just rebuke something else. They have Sivir that beats it, but I'd rather have them trading there. Yeah, I think I like that more. Let me just... They don't have the runes anyway. Yeah. Recycle, recycle. Here we go. It's just like, they can't play. They literally can't play. Because now it's either they drew into a buff and they can pump that Sivir, or they have to send both. And if they send both, I can just... Okay, this is good to go. Yeah, this resolves, definitely. Did they draw back to back? Back to back is not good enough. Rebuke. Yes, sir. Okay, it's monkey. Okay, so we know it's set, last card in hand. We are winning that game, aren't we? That game is over. We're just pushing and... Last card in hand is set, no? That game is over, right? Am I missing something, chat? Huh? Am I missing something? Sivir gold. Oh yes, I did miss Sivir gold. Do we want to go A? No, I mean they have set. We just rebuked it. So this is good to go, right? This is 7. I mean, we could... Yeah, we could also do S. Just to make sure. Just to make sure we're not inting completely. Draw 2. Okay. We can't play it. If we had a goal, we could, but like whatever. Yeah, let's just go there. GG's. Thanks for the games. Was great. Was pretty great. I did not expect we would be able to win that one though. That one looked like such a lost game already. We did manage somehow to make up for it. Mono purple pog. Yeah, this list feels pretty good. This list definitely feels pretty good. So I'm probably not like far from perfect with the deck actually. I don't have nearly enough playtests to be making the correct play every time, and as you've seen, it was like a lot of decision making, but this deck feels super good. I had no cards in this one. Yeah, I got rid. When I saw the 2 reposts in end, I was like, sabotage, get out. Sabotage, get out. Nope, I'm not getting reposted. But it was a cool one. It was a super cool one. Thank you so much for the games, Moritor. I'm gonna try this out with 1 seal. You could definitely try 1 seal. But yeah, the deck feels good. And also, before I drop you off for a raid, as we usually do, a quick notice for the fans. You probably know that I'm streaming every Wednesday live on Twitch, 8 p.m. Paris time. But tomorrow, I will also be live in the evening, so probably something like 8, 9 p.m. I don't exactly know when, to live some gameplay with Savages. We're going to be playing set 2. Don't know which decks I'll be bringing to the table. Most likely Fiora, and probably some other ones. Depending on the power level of what he picks, I'm probably going to try and adapt. But we're going to be streaming for maybe 3 hours, 3-4 hours, I don't exactly know. We'll be a Q1, so if you want to see some Riftbound gameplay, feel free to tune in tomorrow evening, and we'll be live with Savages. And it will be cool, it will be super cool. Or however you guys want to. This guy. I know not everyone is calling him the same, so this guy. I don't exactly know how you want to call the name. Rumble, I'm going to be bringing Rumble, I'm going to be bringing Fiora. If he decides to play like Irelia Draven, I'm going to have to bring my A game to the table, which is probably not Rumble, right? But if he plays something a bit more exciting, yeah, I'm definitely going to try and sneak in a best of 3 of Rumble, for sure. Do we have a red? Thank you so much for the support and stuff. It was pretty cool tonight. Enjoyed it. Hope you guys did enjoy it as well, even though we were going for weirder decks, I would say. Decks that are probably not performing so good. But how about still trying to make them work, right? Let's raid Eggman. Eggman is streaming some Riftbound. Let's go red Eggman. The Eggman, sorry. Eggman. Where the man at? Eggman. Wait, what's the name? Oh, it's the Eggman. My bad. The Eggman. Would love to see Sivir. The thing is, I'm not good enough on Sivir to be bringing it to such a huge stream and be playing like shit. Because I don't think I'm like nearly good enough to be saying I'm a good Sivir player. But maybe, if I have the will to, maybe I will. I watch Savages. It does a lot of experimenting too. Yeah. That's the. Maybe I can bring Sivir. Yeah, maybe I can bring Sivir. We'll have to see, but maybe I'm bringing like Sivir, Rumble, Fiora, and another one. I could see that. I could definitely see that. Stream is entertainment, should be entertaining. Yeah. I will be making a fool of myself. I know you like that, Ray. I know you love that, Ray. Thank you so much for being here tonight. It was a cool stream. Hope you have a great start of 2026 wherever you are. Only wishing for health, because if health is good, then anything we can achieve. And yeah, it was so fun. See you tomorrow for the gameplay stream with Savages. And see you on Wednesday for the next meta talk. And hopefully, I'll be trying to bring in 1 or 2 pro players to have some sort of tier listing discussion. So we'll have to see that. I try to reach out. I'll let you guys know on Discord, Twitter, whatever. Make sure you follow me there. And with that being said, thank you so much for the support. Loved every second of it. I'll send you off to the Eggman. And see you soon. Bye-bye. Peace.